So meeting.
All right. Let's start the meeting. It's 6:15. Thank you everyone for coming to today's Port Ranch Neighborhood Council meeting. My name is Gabriel. I'm the president of the council. I have a few announcements to make. This meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available on our PRNC YouTube page as well as our webpage, prnc.org. All meeting attendees will be automatically muted when they join the meeting. Attendees may address the board in one of two situations. Number one, comment on an agenda item, or number two, provide general public comment. After each agenda item is read out loud and before a board vote is taken on that item, if any, I will ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding the agenda item being considered. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak by pressing *9 if they are using a telephone or audio, or clicking the raise your hand button on Zoom. That will prompt the president that you wish to speak. I will go down the list of those who raise their hand, turn on their audio one at a time, and ask him or her to go ahead and provide comment within a specific time period. When the speaker's time expires, I will let the speaker know that their time has expired. Thank them for the comment, turn off the audio of the speaker. This process will continue until all attendees who raised their hand spoke. At that time, the board will discuss the motion and take a vote if they choose so. As noted in the meeting agenda, there is an item dedicated to public comment on the items not on the agenda, but within the purview of the board. When the item comes up during the course of the meeting, I will ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding any issues that is not on the agenda, but is within the domain of the board's action and capabilities. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak using the same procedures described previously. Please note that under the Brown Act, the board is prevented from discussing or acting on a matter that is brought to its attention during the general public comment period. However, the issue raised by a member of the public may become the subject of a future board meeting. Public comments is limited to 2 minutes per speaker unless adjusted by the president or presiding officer at their discretion. Let's move forward. Roll call. Christine?
All right. David Lasher,
Here.
David Balin,
Balin here.
Hilda,
Here.
Jason,
Here.
Luis, absent, Becky,
Here.
Brandy,
Here.
Jennifer, here, Boss,
Here.
myself here, and Gabriel.
Here.
Perfect. And we have quorum.
Perfect. Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. And let's stand up. And let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you. Next item is president's comments. Just want to say we made it to December. It's been a very long year. This month is a month full of holidays and we should spend it with our families, friends, and loved ones. Let's be grateful for what we have. Let's stop worrying about tomorrow and live our lives today. Think positive and think what we can to make things better next year. Your positive energy goes all the way. Happy holidays to everybody. I also want to thank everyone who came out to the Granada Hills Parade, and I want to thank Granada Hills South for their invite. I hope next year brings a new beginning to the board to get involved in activities and events throughout the city to show who and what Port Ranch stands for. And let's move on with a short meeting, but a very important meeting. I want to start by reappointing David Balin as the Youth Chair Committee due to the fact that he was working with the Youth Committee last year. And I want to start enabling the Youth Committee to start meeting again. Is that fine with you, David?
I'll take it. But what I would like to ask, Gabriel, would there be, we need to have at least 2 board members. If somebody
Okay.
else wants to join, thank you.
Okay, basically what you can do, David, is you can appoint anybody as a co-chair. I know Madison will be a co-chair, but you can bring in somebody else with you as well. Is that fine with you?
If any of the board members are interested in being involved, our Porter Ranch Neighborhood Youth Council is amazing. Please reach out to me and be a co-chair. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Also, my goal is to meet with Wendy next week to learn how to update the webpage with Jason so we can start saving money on the webpage. I tried decoding the webpage myself for quite some time, and the language on the website is crazy. So that's the goal for early next week. Jason is available, I'm available, and hoping that Wendy will be available at the same timing so we can move forward with that. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is updates from representatives, public offices. And I see, let's see who, Colin Cruiser. Welcome. Let me bring you in and you can talk. Colin, floor is yours.
Hey, everybody. Colin Cruz here, District Director for Councilmember John Lee. I don't have a lot for you guys tonight. We did have a very successful event a couple of weekends ago. We had our first Environmental Awareness Day that we co-sponsored with Volunteers Cleaning Communities. It was a great event in Chatsworth. A lot of great vendors out there with environmentally themed booths. And we look forward to partnering with them again next year to do another one. And I hope that some of you were able to make it out to that. It was, like I said, it was just a really, really great event. And then the only other thing I really have for you is a few months ago, the council member put in a motion to just declare certain areas in CD12 as sensitive sites to prohibit camping around them. Among them was the Pocket Park at Reseda and Rinaldi. I know we've had an issue there, and that motion did pass last week. So the process now will move forward with General Services posting signage saying that camping is not allowed around that Pocket Park. That's going to take some time. And in the meantime, while that process moves forward, LASA will increase outreach to the individual living there and hopefully finally be able to get him into services. We've been dispatching all available resources to the location. But hopefully once the signs are up, there's a 14-day grace period after the signs are up for continued outreach. But hopefully we will get that situation resolved. And like I said, it's going to be a minute, but in the coming, several weeks. And that's all I've got for you guys, except to say happy holidays.
Thank you, Colin. I see there are a few hands up. David Lasher.
Hey, Colin, Merry Christmas to you as well. Hey, question for you. I had I put in a couple service requests for the sidewalks from Assumption up to Brasilia. Brasilia covered with pine needles and debris. And
Okay.
Street Services closed it out saying all that material is from privately owned trees, and they straight up closed it out without addressing it. If that would be something you could look into, it's great, because literally there's so much material, people are cutting tracks in it, like a dirt road on a farm. There's just people tracks right through it. It's 3 to 4 inches thick with pine needles.
Gotcha. So we actually fund a nonprofit group called West Valley Alliance, and they do weed abatement and parkway cleanups for our district. And so, David, if you don't mind, can you shoot me an email with the locations?
Sure,
And
I
I will
got pictures.
I'll provide them to my colleague, Matt Viacia. He's our deputy that handles that sort of thing. But
Appreciate
West
it.
Valley Alliance should be able to clean that up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I see Brandy. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Happy holidays, Colin.
Happy holidays.
So I know there's been a few events that your office and the councilman have been involved in recently, even in our neighborhood, that most of our community wasn't aware of when they happen. And so just putting like a note on you for the new year. I'd like to see if we can get our our neighborhood council to work closer with your office so that we can get the word out about these events so the community is more connected?
Sure. I mean, obviously, any sort of event that we promote events that our office sponsors and events that our office doesn't sponsor in our newsletter, and obviously we try to push them out on social media. But yeah, anything, feel free to contact me or our communications team with anything you want to help pushing out.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you. Jason Hector?
Hey, Colin, I wanted to ask about the street racing. I actually went up to Cessnon and Reseda. I saw they put those cones up now. I know it was a while back. They put these orange cones up there.
Mhm.
And then I wanted to ask about the motion that John Lee put forth regarding street racing. I think it passed, but it was a report back only.
Right. And I don't think that report has come back as of yet.
So,
But yeah, it was for the city attorney to report back
Right.
on measures that can be
so
taken.
can I ask you to please forward that to our neighborhood council, the report back? Because it seems pretty successful, the codes that they put up there. But I think perhaps there's other areas on the west side of Cessnon that could use it as well. But, the thing is, like, the report back is very hard to find. Like, are they?
Yeah, like I said, I don't believe that report is in yet, but we will certainly keep you apprised when it does come back.
Yeah, I guess the question is, where does that report back come for the public? Because it doesn't, I don't think, get attached to the council file, does it?
I'm not sure.
I think they just send it to the council office. And then we have no way of seeing what the report back is. So, please, we got to work together on this. So, please, like you said, keep us appraised, because, obviously we want to find a solution. And I think the solution that they did was good. I think it's working good. If you have a chance to drive up to Cessnon, by ET Park there, they put a lot of cones up there. But they move around, right? So
Right.
the idea is like, okay, that's good there, but there's other areas like on Mason and Cessnon too. And that's all I wanted to say. And then, no, thank you for the support of Jill and VCC. That was a great event. We had a lot of fun, and I really, it was an event that was geared towards the children. And I have a daughter, so I really thought it was so awesome. And so I really am glad to see you guys working with the leaders in our community. So maybe you can take that back to John. But that's pretty much it. And I'll just kind of piggyback off of what Brandy says. Like, anytime there's something in Porter Ranch, please, like, proactively. I know, like, maybe our outreach, we have to, like, reach out to you from the get-go in terms of what's going on in Porter Ranch with the council office. But anytime there's something in Porter Ranch, please, like, let us know. Please, loop us in, because we want to put it on our Facebook. We want to promote the event to our stakeholders. And we also want to co-sponsor and be involved in these events. So, I just want to kind of piggyback off what Brandy said, because I think that that point is important. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. David Balin?
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I know this is going to be a 311 question, but my question is really how to describe it to 311. Now that our streets are becoming pitted mostly around the manholes on Corbin, Porter Ranch Drive, and Mason, due to the heavy trucks from the development of Toll Brothers, as well as the development of the park. So the manholes are starting to get huge chunks of concrete. And if your tire hits it, it takes a chunk of your tire the rubber out of your tire. How do you designate manholes to 311?
I think the best thing for you to do, David, is to contact us. Again, that would be Matt Viacia. from my days working, doing the public works deputy job, that's okay. So it's chunks coming out around the manhole. It's not that like the manhole is too low or anything like that,
No, so you
right?
have the manhole, you normally have the square going around the manhole,
Right,
which is concrete
right.
or, but basically every time somebody rolls over it, it starts coming up. So if you were to drive up Corbin, you kind of have to like go around the manholes because you really don't want to hit the manhole with your tire. I don't know if any of the other board members have noticed that, but it's really, it's getting bad. And I wasn't sure, I'll reach out to Matt tomorrow morning, but I know that it's a 311 situation. I was just wondering if there's a way to earmark it, because I've called them and they come out and they patch it really quick. I mean, if they're literally a day or two, but I wasn't sure how to designate which manholes.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you know, for all the specificity that 311 asks for, sometimes, you know, there's a gap. I mean, you could, in theory, you could report it as a pothole, right? And then in the comments, you just put that it's around the manhole cover at whatever, you know, wherever the location is.
Well, they're running almost every manhole between Cessna and Rinaldi going down Corbin, Mason, or Porter Ranch Drive. They all pretty much have issues. I would say 90% of them.
I mean, I would encourage you to reach out to Matt.
Okay.
Because, you know, obviously he's our public works deputy and he's got the connection. So he, you know, if he feels it's something that, you know, isn't something that can be adequately described in a 311, you know, report, then he can reach out to a supervisor and explain the situation. So I would really contact Matt. Yeah.
That's going to be my holiday gift to the neighborhood. No more
Sounds
holes.
good.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you, David.
Thank you.
Becky,
I'm good.
you're good? Perfect. One thing, Mr. Khan, a couple of residents have told me that a lot of lights are out on Reseda Boulevard between Rinaldi and Cessna. They tagged it on 311. It's been a week and a half. They were just following up to see if you have any updates.
Yeah. So copper wire theft is pervasive throughout the entire city, and we're not immune here in CD12. When the copper wire is removed from our streetlights, and I'm just kind of assuming that it's copper wire theft because we're getting there's a lot of complaints right now about that sort of thing. It takes the Bureau of Street Lighting, it's an extensive repair and it takes them time. And because it is so prevalent right now, there is a backlog. So if it's only been a couple of weeks, it sounds like I'm pushing everything off to Matt Viacia, but he's also the guy that handles that. You know, feel free to contact me or contact Matt with any specific locations, and we'll do everything we can to push them through. But there is a significant backlog right now because it is so it's just bad. Like the copper wire theft is really out of hand right now, and it's not a quick repair.
Thank you. I'll pass the information on. Any other questions or comments? Doesn't seem so. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank
today,
you.
Hans, and happy holidays, happy New Year, just in case we don't
Thank
see
you,
each other.
Colin. Nice to see you.
Good to see you
Happy
guys.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Take care. Be safe. All right. Any other public officials? Doesn't seem so. Perfect. We can move on. Next item is public comments on items.
Mr. President, I just want to,
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
Mr. Gibson.
Yes, sir.
Hey, just wanted to make wanted to touch base on an update that was correspondent that was sent to everybody in regards to some of the trainings.
Okay.
Just hi, everybody. I am your friendly neighborhood empowerment advocate, your NEA. Happy holidays, everybody. Just want to touch base on two things. So there was the anti-bias training has been extended to January 1st, 2022. So if you haven't completed your anti-bias training, please go ahead and do so. We have one month extension. Also for planning and land use, that's the same thing. That's the deadline for the two. I like that it's printed. Thank you, sir. Just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's the extension that has been sent out. Also, we are, the department is in the process of onboarding new staff members. So we will be able to at least be more accessible, as right now I have 10 neighborhood councils. So with the additional staff, that will minimize it back to 7, hopefully. And then I'll be able to, I'm always accessible, but it's just one thing, just want to let you know that the department is expanding out. And with that, I'm going to be on the agenda a little bit later this evening. Just want to apologize. Definitely, we were supposed to have the city attorney's office conduct the training this evening, but because of their increased workload, because of them being the city attorneys, and the mandates coming in, we've had to sort of push that back to January. So we are working to get that scheduled. It's just that something that's outside of my scope and ability to control, especially when it comes to the mandates. Just wanted to let everybody know about that. And with that, I'll be here this evening. I see 2 hands.
Okay, Brandy, go ahead.
Thanks. Gibson, so I've been having problems with my PRNC email. I know you were going to email me so I could get my login so I can take the anti-bias training. Do you know if you sent me one? I guess
I'll double check with my colleagues, but if not, I'll make sure I'll put it on my to-do list and you get it tomorrow, first thing in the morning.
Okay. Can you give me your email real quick? That way I can email you from a personal account just in case.
So it's my name. So you see Gibson.Nyambura
Okay.
at lac.org.
Okay. Thanks.
And my also direct number is 818-374-9953.
749953.
Also, yes, another thing I totally just remembered is we are asking all our neighborhood councils, and I definitely know it's on the agenda this evening. I'll be able to speak on it on agenda item number 14, but in regards to the regional grievance panelist. So we are asking all 99 neighborhood councils to have one person. So when we have grievances, the same folks don't have to do the same consistent grievances back and forth. So it's just a process of giving folks all within the neighborhood council system. So we want to make sure it's not just the same 10 people who get to participate in grievance panels, but everybody within the neighborhood council process as we continue to streamline the whole process as we continue.
Thank you.
Yes, Jason.
Oh, hi, Gibson. On that topic number 14 in the grievance panel, is there a number? Is it only one, or can we appoint more than one?
What I've been doing has been 1, but if you guys want to do 2, I'm okay with that too.
Gotcha. And then I have a second question. We haven't heard much about the social media policy. What happened with that? I know it was going through Bonk, and where is that? Can you give us an update of where, because I haven't been following it at all.
It's still in Bonk. Bonk hasn't taken action to either adopt it or push it further. I think what they've just done is held off of it, but my safe assumption is they may take action later this month, or they'll just do it in January. At the moment, there is no announcement as to whether the Board of Neighborhood Commission is taking actions
So
on that.
okay, so are they working off the original document, or was there any like revised draft? Because I think there was an original document and then a lot of neighborhood councils made comment. And then was there any revised document, or they're still working off the original document?
Let me check, but I think I still think
Maybe
it's.
you don't have to answer it right now, but like maybe if you could let us know, because like we never made comment on, well, we had a lot of stakeholders interested in making comment on it, but we never as a board made comment. But it would be nice to know where they're at right now, if they made any revisions, like based on what city attorney said, based on what neighborhood council said. I would think that they maybe went back and did a second draft.
I got you. I'll definitely make sure I send it an email just to make sure at least you have an update on that.
Yeah, you know, I would think that they would make a second draft after comment from the public, comment from the city attorney. And, you know, I just want to know what's going on with that, really, because it really impacts us severely.
They haven't taken action, but once they do, it will definitely be an announcement been made.
Yeah, but see, the problem is once they take action, it's over, right?
Did you want to maybe bring that to the board for discussion? Maybe you guys want to provide input whether you're in support or against the policy?
Well, my question is the policy still the original document?
No, I think there's been a draft. There's a October draft. I'll double check if there's a November
Yeah, that's what
amendment.
I'm asking. So there's an
Yeah,
October.
There's
there-
an October draft, yes.
Okay. And then where could I get the October draft?
It's on the website, but I will definitely send it to you in email
On the banquet,
on the Empire LA website.
okay. Yeah, I
It's
would
under the
strongly
commissions
encourage,
tab.
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's on the
Gibson.
commissions tab. Proposes under. It's on commission. It's at the commissions, and then there'll be a draft under consideration.
Okay. Yeah, I would strongly encourage the board to review that policy because the social media is an important component of what we do as a neighborhood council. And so we never took a position, but I want to stay on top of this. So thank you for, if you send that to the board, I think it would be beneficial as our NEA. So we can, read it, digest it, consider putting it on the January agenda. So
We'll definitely do so. I'm definitely gonna send it to you.
I appreciate it. Nice to see you, Gibson. Thank you. And
Happy holidays.
good to see you, my friend.
Thank you,
Always
Jason.
good to see you guys.
David Lasher, floor is yours.
Hey, Gibson, I tried to do the training and the email says, if you're logging on for the first time, follow the instructions on the screen on the login page regarding your username. It
Mhm.
gives you the default password. When I went to the city, that link, it's City of LA Personnel Department, the username is blank, password's blank, obviously. And it says, please use your employee ID number as your username. Police Department employees, use your serial number. DWP employees use your DWP ID. What are we supposed to, because I would have completed this already, but I can't log in.
Can you use the link that we sent you?
I'm using the link. Yeah, the link goes right to this City of LA Personnel Department page for
Okay, well,
Cornerstone
let's
On-Demand training.
Well, let's do a follow-up meeting where you and we could do a virtual walkthrough
Okay.
because you're just supposed to be able to just put in your username.
Well, what is the
because-
username though? That's the thing. I don't, what is that
I'll
supposed
make
to
sure,
be?
I'll send it to you. Your username is the one that is, so everybody within the neighborhood council system. So because we wanted to make sure that we can use the Cornerstone platform that is used for the city,
Right.
all neighborhood council board members have a username. And that
Okay.
username is usually sent to everybody, but what I can definitely do is I'll reset it for you. And then
Okay.
what you'll do is you'll use your username that we have within the system that we put in the back end. You'll
Got it.
log into that username and then you'll be able to change your password and then you'll be able to use the Cornerstone platform.
Got it. That's not a problem. I didn't know what the username was. That was the whole problem. So cool. That sounds good.
Now, we also had, there was an update within the system that changed we shortened everybody's username. So if you have that problem, I'll definitely work on it.
And I'll be
we'll get your
definitely,
information.
I'm savvy to log into it once I have that. So if you would just resend that, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, I got you.
Hey, thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
David. Boss, floor is yours. We can't hear you, boss. You're muted.
Hi, Gibson.
Hi, Mrs. Singh.
Okay, I had completed my third session of the Core Institute training in this month. So do I have to attend it next year also?
No, you've done all three. So once you do that, we're still in the process of finalizing that process. But once you've done that, you're good to go.
And secondly, do you have any status on the civic use certificates?
No, because it's not. We are in partnership with another organization, and they're the ones who are helping detail with the logistics of the back end. But I
And
can
you can-
follow up with my colleague.
Okay, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. You too. Good
Thank
sir.
you.
I
Thank you, boss.
appreciate you.
David Balin, you had your hand up, I dropped it down. You have something to say?
Yeah, really quick, and Gibson might appreciate this. So this goes to David Lasher in regards to, for anybody, we should be utilizing the same password we use for our ethics, any of the trainings. It works on, it would work the same for the other testing as well. So that particular, if you have it saved, that's what you want to use for all your trainings moving forward. Is that correct, Gibson?
Thank you, David. Boss, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, my question is this Gibson, that I think the department is giving some they have given me a number as ID and not the user ID like my name or other thing. It has given me a particular number. I go to the cornerstone and
Mhm.
use that number and the password, and I'm
Mhm.
through. I'm through.
Yeah. So not everybody's is it's not like where we choose one person or the other. It's just that it's auto generated the way the users are sort of log in, the username is set up, but we just want to make sure every neighborhood council board member has a login into Cornerstone.
Okay, thank you.
I'll double check that information, David. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
And you'll be around for the item
I am here.
later on. Perfect. Thank you. Let's move forward with public comments. I don't see any hands up. Oh, there we go. Patty, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Senator Henry Stern will be holding a press conference this Friday at Viking Park at 8:30 a.m. This is regarding the recent action taken by the California Public Utilities Commission in regards to Lisa Canyon's gas storage facility. And everyone is welcome to come. He would like to have a crowd of residents standing by him, backing up what he's planning on doing. And I'm about to attend at 7:30 a planning meeting tonight about it. So really, that's what I know. And I think he's going to try to introduce a bill regarding Aliso, but again, that's all I know. So hopefully, again, Viking Park, 8:30 Friday morning, please be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. All right, Assad, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, PRNC. Yes, few items. I'll start with the one which is your favorite. To elaborate on the street lighting, yes, I am aware of a lot of the outages. Some of them it's due to the wire. I'm following with the crew on them on daily basis. And soon we will have some of the wire. There was some backlog in the material delivery, not in the labor. Labor, I have enough crews to attend to it. So hopefully it will be working. And if there is any more reported and all you need to report, I really ask you to do it through 311. So this way I immediately have the crew get it through the email and it's assigned to them. That's one. Special thanks to our many California Highway Patrol and the Valley Division for the 7 arrests and the 54 citation over the weekend for the stopping the illegal racing. And they also impounded 20 cars. So hopefully with that and with the help of the neighborhood watch and the calls to the 911, we will put more stoppage on it. We had few races on Cessnan, but those somehow went through. Other item is, I want to bring to your attention that the MTA is taking public comments for the Sepulveda Transit Project. This is the project that's gonna go from along Sepulveda, from Ventura Boulevard all the way to Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood, going either through the Getty or going through the UCLA. So the next 4 weeks, they are looking for public comments, and I encourage you to give a lot of your comments so that it helps in the planning. And last, happy belated Hanukkah and happy holidays to all of you, with best wishes for a happy, prosperous New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Assad. All right, let's move on to next item, which is treasurer's report. Jason?
Thank you very much. Let me see here. We log into the portal. We basically have 30,000. Let's see here. Yeah, 30,000 available. I put some payments in, but we can roll over 10,000, and we haven't had anything significant come through. So there's not a lot to report, but just keep in mind, we're ending the year.
Hey, Jim, they made,
Who's talking?
sorry.
Oh, okay. We're getting to the halfway point. So, let's think of the budget we have in terms of, the halfway point. So if we had 41,000, it shows here, then we should have spent 20, right? But we're at 30. So we do have excess funds right now that we haven't spent. And we can roll over 10,000. So the way I want to look at it, or I would recommend you look at, is that it says 30, but we have 20 because we can roll over 10. So just think of it that way. We have 20,000 to round out the year, including all of our regular expenses, which are, you guys are pretty familiar with. So that's pretty much it. The MER is not going to be voted on because there didn't approve all the transactions yet. So Becky.
Jason, you're talking fiscal year, right? Could you just
Yeah. So the
who don't
fiscal
know
year,
our
yeah.
fiscal- Hold on, just so people who don't know what our fiscal year is, understand what point in time we're talking about.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's like June, middle of the year, right? So we're halfway through the fiscal year. So we don't work on a calendar year. So we're halfway through. I know it seems like we're at the end of the year, but we're not. We're halfway through the year at the end of the calendar year. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Jason. One quick question for you. Are you sure we're going to be able to transfer 10,000 or?
Yeah,
next
yeah, yeah, because it's been like 2 years we've been rolling over 10,000 now, and last year we were knee deep in COVID and they were cutting everything in the city, but they still allowed us to roll over the 10,000. They
Okay.
didn't increase our budget, right? Because remember, our budget used to be 42,000, right?
Mhm.
So our budget is only 32,000. So, certainly that could change, but at this point, our budget has been cut. But the rollover has remained in place.
Thank you, Jason.
I saw
And-
Gibson popping in. You can jump in, Gibson.
Sorry about that. I had to jump to my other board meeting. What did I miss?
Oh, well, Becky was asking about actually Gabriel, about the rollover and, how we kind of plan for our funds in the next,
Fiscal year.
this fiscal year and, what we got to spend, that kind of thing.
I don't have the best sort of information right now, but what I can definitely try to do is actually bring the city clerk's team so they can explain the rollover process. I think if we can work with them best, so you can ask those questions when it comes to the rollover process, I think that would be better before I give you explanations that I am not well suited to give you the best answer.
I think we're assuming that we're going to have the $10,000 rollover.
Yes, that one's still going to be there, but I think just having the city clerk's office explain the process and how it looks like, I think also goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm pretty clear on all that. Unless they're going to give us more budget allocation next year, I think we're working on the 32,000. So
Yeah, I think it's also not just you being clear, but also just being able to, it's more of a good teachable moment for everybody. I think when it comes to some of these questions about funding, it's a good opportunity just to bring the folks within the city system who actually are the ones who administer the process in the back end. I think it goes a long way.
yeah, I don't know if they're available because I know you're talking about like Paula and
Yeah, we can ask them. The thing is, we just have to plan it a little, pre-plan it. So that's something we can configure.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Let's move on to item number 9, the MER, which we'll be tabling.
Yeah.
And let's move on to the next item, which is item number 10, budget advocates. Please raise your hand. Thank you. Did I bring you in? I'm not sure.
There you go. Thank you very much, Gabriel.
You're welcome.
There isn't a lot of change, so I'll be as brief as possible. Unfortunately, guys, for anybody that doesn't know me, I think everybody does. I'm Brian Allen. I'm with Granada Hills North as one of the 3 budget advocates for Region 2. The other 2 are Gary Fordyce and Glenn Bailey. Glenn Bailey is one of the chairs of the budget advocates. So just background. I was not able to attend the last meeting, which was Monday night. So I apologize that I don't have a lot of information for you. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have with regards to the budget advocates, but I can tell you that the budget advocates are still going through their department reviews. I believe most of the department reviews have been, at least the initial ones have been made, and I think there will be a few more second meetings. I know I've asked for a couple, and most of the reports are due by the end of this month. We're trying to get recommendations put together very early. Unfortunately, we've just recently been able to see the individual budgets for each department. We do know, and this could go a little bit to what you're talking about, Jason, with regards to rollover. The mayor has requested no increase in any department budgets. So most of the departments are working on that philosophy. The budget advocates are taking some of us, I can't speak for every one of them, are taking the position that we're looking at the budgets as we can and trying to identify if we see it, if we can believe that there is a reason to propose a change in the way they have written their proposed budgets, to maybe move funds from one place to another if we feel a recommendation is advised. One simple example would be animal services. Animal services have their budget set with specific criteria in place, but there is no criteria that is being used to address the problem of coyotes throughout the city. And coyotes are a big problem. They're such a big problem that I've spent over $1,000 fencing in all the way around, including an area for my dogs to be able to go outside when they need to. And the reason I've done that is because a coyote came into my backyard and killed one of my dogs. So there are suggestions which we as budget advocates can make if we see something that looks serious to the city, not to ourselves individually, but serious to the city, that we think may be something that should be proposed as a change in their budget. So we're still looking for any input. We will accept that at any time, even after our recommendations. We'll accept any input from anybody, from constituent stakeholders, or from obviously from the NCs. So keep that in mind. If you have anything, please contact us. Let us know. Other than that, some little things like the current position on the pensions, on the budget for 22-23, is that they're anticipating still what they want to call a gap. I'll call it a deficit of around $260 million. Whether or not that'll get closed or how it will get closed is unknown, but they're thinking they might rob the reserve funds, sorry. And one other small thing that you should keep in mind is, and I know it's on your agenda tonight, to change a representative, a budget rep. If you do, please send that off to the I believe it is info@budgetadvocates.org, so that we can keep track of who it is that are reps that we need to stay in contact with. Other than that, I don't really have a lot more that I can think of. As I say, unfortunately, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if there's any new developments, but I don't believe there are. Any questions?
I see Jason has his hand up. Jason?
Oh, I just wanted to share that we had a nice meeting with the sanitation department. The CFO is extremely knowledgeable and talked about a lot in the meeting. So far, I didn't make it on the street lighting meeting, but Rex and Parks, we met with sanitation department, and they're really struggling with the hiring right now. That's one of the big issues. You know, they have these vacancies right now because they put a freeze on everything. So that's all that I've been doing as a rep. So
That's an active issue for all departments. The hiring is a problem everywhere, including Dunn. Everybody is having a problem getting back staff that they have lost and getting back to speed. So you'll find that everywhere. And I also will, with your comment earlier about, and I'm not an expert, I'm not the one who knows the answer to this, but I can tell you that overall, the NC system has only spent, after we're getting to the halfway point in the year, in the fiscal year, we have not spent more than 25% of the funds that have been allocated to the NC system as a whole, all 99 NCs. If that continues, the assumption I would make, and it's only an assumption, is that the rollover and the 32,000 would be continued. It obviously will not go up because the mayor has edict that there will be no increases in any budgets. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know, because the police have asked for a $200 million increase. But with regards to what you're speaking about with rollover, it would I would assume that rollovers would continue, but no one will know but the council when that is finally decided. So that won't be known until probably April, May, somewhere in there when they put out the information. So I wouldn't rely on anything at the moment, but I think the assumption is good that there will be a rollover.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I see Assad has his hand up. Assad?
Yes, thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, I need to elaborate here. The hiring freeze is really project specific, and it depends on the manager. Like I'll give you an example. Today, I managed for one of my 35 projects to get 3 new positions in which John Lee and Bob Blumenfield blessed, and they gave me, over $1 million for that. It's the freeze is there, but you can go as a manager and go around it. It all has to do with how you get the money, how you justify it to the CAO, and how you present it to the council. If you fail to do that, you will not get it unfrozen. So far, today for my same project, Streets LA, got 8 positions. So the way that some managers present it to you is confusing. It all depends on the knowledge of the manager and how to get around the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Assad. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
For the
I'll stick
update.
around for the EHR.
You got it. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item, which is discussion of possible action to open up nominations to replace Jennifer Ibrahim as PRNC budget representative. I know she has conflict on Saturdays, I believe, when the meetings are, and wanted to open up to see if anybody wants to nominate themselves or somebody else for that position. Do we have
What
any
time is
nominees?
it on Saturdays?
Jason, you want to?
It's in the morning, like 9 to, what is it? Brian knows, what is it, 9:30? We're lucky we can do it on Zoom now, but the meetings are usually held, what is it, downtown or?
There's 2 meetings a month. Sorry to break in on you, Jason, but there's 2 meetings a month. One is on the first Monday of the month at 7 p.m. They go on for anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, depends. We try to keep it at 2 hours. And on Saturday, the third Saturday of the month, is at 9 a.m. Sometimes it's 9:30, but it's, again, for a 2-hour period. And they are trying very hard to keep the meetings short and sweet, so that because there isn't a great deal to discuss in most cases. So that's the meetings.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brian.
Are you interested, Brandy?
I'm just looking at my schedule.
Sure.
Please don't let that stop anyone else who's interested from.
Definitely. Any other nominations? No, I guess it's you, Brandy. If you're interested, I would call a vote.
Yeah, just double checking.
It defaults to you, Gabriel.
Yeah, I'm interested. I just have to put up the big caveat that I'm supposed to take over another class that they haven't told me what time the class is. So if that happens to be overlapping this next semester, we might have to go through this again next month. But
That's fine.
otherwise, I'm interested.
Perfect. Just let me know if that happens again. We can always change it.
Okay.
All right, so I nominate Brandy Grace as the budget rep for PRNC. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. 1 second. Let's call a vote. Christine, you want to call the vote or should I?
Absolutely. David Lasher,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Hilda,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Luis is absent, Becky,
Yes.
Brandy, obviously.
Be kind of bad if I said no. wouldn't it?
Yeah. Jennifer. Yes. Boss,
Yes.
myself, yes, and Gabriel.
Yes, and 10 yeses, 1 absent, motion passes. Thank you, Randy.
Congratulations.
I see Brian Adam has his hand up. Brian?
Real quickly, I just wanted to share that a budget rep from a NC is not a mandatory attendance to the meetings. It is strictly voluntary. We would hope that more would show up and be able to attend them, but it's not mandatory. It doesn't affect their position as a rep. That's an NC position.
Well, that's kind of depressing. I want everybody to have to be there.
It's not, it doesn't, I don't mean to say that we don't want you. We want everyone to show up and we would love to have people there. I just don't want it to be thought as a mandatory thing. You're either there or you're rejected. That's not true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please come if you can, and we will email info. It's info@budgetadvocates.
Info.
Is it
Alright.
.com?
.org.
Yes, that's
.org.
it.
All right, we'll send the change to, thank you.
Perfect.
Next one's on the 18th then, right?
Becky, you have your hand up?
Third
I
Saturday.
did. Brian.
that
any
is
board
correct.
members- Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Brian, I was just wondering, we have 2 representatives, but can other board members attend?
Absolutely.
Is that allowed or no?
Yes,
It's
they
open
may.
to the whole board, but we have 2 people actually representing us.
We don't eliminate anybody.
Okay,
If we
thank you
get
so
to 500 people, we have a problem, but we certainly, everyone's welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is updates from CAG. CAG, do you have any updates? Raise your hand. All right. I see Craig. There you go, Craig. Floor is yours.
I wasn't muted. I didn't unmute myself. You'd think I'd have this down by now. Thank you, President Gabriel and the board. Craig Galante, your elected representative for the CAG, the Community Advisory Group. So tonight's update will be very brief, and if I could share screens when you can. I just wanted to let you know that not a lot has transpired from Department of Public Health. So there we go. Are we sharing screens yet? Not yet, huh?
Not yet. All right, one second.
Post disabled. Participation screensaver.
Try now.
Okay, thanks. So we met 2 weeks ago and I gave you guys a pretty involved recap. And if you recall, thank you for screen sharing. If you recall, we used this chart a lot. You've seen this before. So, and what's so important about this chart, again, it was a way to track progress on critical path elements to get to a health study that not only the CAG could stand behind and feel good about, but we could come to meetings like this and say, hey, we're making really good progress. Look, we're checking these off. We're moving forward. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So tonight, you've seen these 2 weeks ago, and we're aware of no changes whatsoever on any one of these critical path items. What I want to bring your attention to is the CBC study right here, because earlier this week, I sent an email to Dr. Simon of the Department of Public Health, and he's the Chief Science Officer who is spearheading the CBC study. And in our October 15th, 14th meeting, less than just about 2 months ago, we had a discussion, and they did some preliminary work, and we agreed at that meeting that the data would be shared with an independent researcher so that we could do two things, right? Validate the preliminary conclusions that DPH came to, and also do additional investigations that they have not had the time to do, which is just very standard statistical analysis that we had asked for from the beginning, but they claim they don't have time to get to. So we agreed, and 2 months ago, the data was supposed to be shared. So I sent an email on what's the status on the information that this community has desperately requested. I did copy all of you on that email when I sent it to the board. So I think it would be incumbent upon the Department of Public Health to really answer the questions the community has, and provide us this really valuable information. I apologize, it didn't fit the screen here. But anyway, if you check your email, it's in there. And if you want to endorse it, if you want to, do a letter from the neighborhood council, do a comment personally, by assuming passes all of your rules, I think that would be helpful. The community deserves this information so we can protect ourselves. The only other thing I have to tell you is there was scheduled a December CAG meeting, which was supposed to happen, I believe, in 2 Mondays from now, but that was canceled by the Department of Public Health. Despite the objections of the CAG, we wanted to meet, we wanted to tackle these issues more. And they have advised us, they being the Department of Public Health, that the CAG meetings are on hiatus while they are in the request for proposal process. We have not been advised of when these meetings will be brought back onto the calendar, but as soon as they do, we'll let you know. I think the CAG may do some things independently on their own and bring community members together. And if we do that, I will definitely let this board know to pass and make sure that information gets around. So literally from the full debrief I gave you 2 weeks ago, we are unaware of any changes in the critical path issues. We are unaware of where they are on the RFP proposal process. We have been told repeatedly that they will not append the goals and priorities, despite this board's recommendations of doing another draft to close the gaps. And that is really my brief tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And maybe it'd be better if we just did a brief Q&A.
Thank you, Craig. Becky, you have a hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Craig. You said that there's a request for a proposal. What does that mean?
Sure. So if you recall, we shared with you, and it was shared widely with the public, a goals and priorities document. So it was a very broad stroke, very, let's call it a 30,000, 50,000 foot view of potentially what should be included in the health study. What then happens, Becky, is it's put into a template, a formulaic template that is used in the research world of, it identifies the scope of the study, some requirements, if there are any, who can bid, who's what qualifications you have. And then that request for proposal literally means that we want you to bid on how you're going to approach the problem I'm trying to solve. And that goes out to universities, it goes out to academic institutions, think tanks, everybody from gas and oil companies to Tesla. They're all going to have a chance to, as long as they qualify, and public health has some qualifications. So it's a formal process. to make the request for what services you want, and then a reply process to say, here's how I'm going to attack it, and here's the budget I need.
Thank you
And
very
by the
much.
way, the CAG requested visibility to this process, and we were denied.
Thank you, Craig. Any other questions for Craig? I see one more. Brandy, floor is yours.
Yeah, quick question. Maybe you don't know, but has anybody ever given a reason for why they refuse to use the subpoena to get the chemical exposure list? Has there ever been any reason given?
The only thing we ever got, and it was published very quietly, was that because the city, county, and state entered into an agreement, a settlement with SoCal Gas over the breaking of the law of not advising everyone, that there was a criminal charge, and there was a settlement, and part of that settlement was the $119 million. And they say, because that settlement is there, we're not going to pursue any subpoena. That's all they told us. They didn't say why. So Brandy, I think the right question to ask is, did that deal, that settlement deal, prevent somebody from going and get the chemical information that this community so desperately needs and deserves?
Yeah, it sounds like there might have been some kind of gag order or something involved.
Well, but they never said that. They never said, oh, we can't, or we cut a deal, or we shook hands. They never said that. So that's why we've been so demanding of it, because again, the only one that has the ability to pierce the corporate trade secret veil is a public health organization or the county supervisors. They both have this legal authority to pierce it.
Thank you, Craig. Any other questions? With no further questions, thank you, Craig, for everything you're doing. I really appreciate it. The board appreciates it. And keep up the good fight.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm available for email, phone calls if anybody has questions in the future.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Gabriel.
I want to ask the board if anybody objects. I want to be able to move item number 15 up. I know a few of the members that will be presenting this have to go to a different meeting at 7:30. So I want to give them time to discuss it and show us the presentation. Does anyone object to moving item number 15 up? Okay.
No, I'm going to recuse myself though, Gabriel.
Are you? Okay, go for it. Please raise your hand if you need to be in a meeting for this item number 15.
Gabriel, I raised my hand. Do you see it?
Yes, Becky, go for it.
Okay, and I need to recuse myself as well.
Are you? Okay. And Andrew, there you go. Christine, you have a question?
Yes, I need to recuse myself as well.
Okay. And Jennifer,
I will also recuse myself.
go for it. All right. Lower hand, lower hand, lower hand. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just checking quorum. Brandy, you're still here, right?
Yeah, I'm not getting money or anything, so I don't think I need to recuse myself.
Okay, perfect. And looks like we have a quorum. We can move forward. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabe, and thank you, board. Can I ask that Craig Galante be able to share a short slide deck?
Yes, of
for our
course.
presentation?
Of course. Craig?
Yes, I'm working on it. Bear with me 1 second. Almost there. Andrew, why don't you just get started and I'll get it going.
Oh, I'd prefer it up. Good roadmap.
Okay, almost there. A lot of buttons and a lot of screens here. Bear with me. Almost there.
No problem.
Okay. It didn't work, did it?
All right.
Now we
No,
see
I
it.
can see it.
I see it.
Okay,
I
let me
can
get
see
you a
it.
better screen. There we go. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Craig. Good evening, board. My name is Andrew Crown. For those who don't know me, I used to be a board member myself. I am currently a member of the, along with Craig and Brian, and I heard Patty speak earlier, and several other community leaders on the community advisory group. And I'm also the president and one of the co-founders of Environmental Health Research, an organization that was at your last meeting to introduce ourselves. Thank you guys very much for the opportunity to come present again and for the opportunity to ask for some financial support. Next slide,
Andrew,
please.
Andrew, I'm terribly sorry for interrupting you. Gabriel,
Yes.
if you recuse yourselves, should you not be not on here at all? I mean, I think Becky recuses up, but her microphone's still on. Or her,
Is it? Yeah, I can get him out. 1 second.
sorry, Andrew.
No problem, David. You were,
Apologize.
I agree with the point of order.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
This presentation is quite short too, so you'll make up some time.
All right, I think I got everybody out. Is that right? 1 second. Move. Looks good.
Okay, am I free to continue?
Go for it.
Okay, great, thank you. Craig, next slide, please. So this slide is uber familiar, as Craig just shared during the CAG update. But for us, it remains, one of those pillars. We look at this, and this is one of those core reasons why we funded and why we started EHR in the first place. Next slide, please. And this one is the second, and I apologize if Craig shared this just a moment ago, but the sheer fact is those who know have no confidence in what the county is doing. So what choices exist? To just allow the county to railroad us, or to step up and do the independent health study we all need, we all deserve ourselves. Next slide, please. Oh, so we did try to help you guys out with some proposed motion language. So we hope that you will consider a motion to approve an MPG for environmental health research for $3,500 to conduct outreach and offer Porter Ranch residents the opportunity to participate at no cost in an independent health study regarding the impacts to them from the Aliso Canyon gas blowout disaster. Next slide, please. This is what the funding will go to. Here's the meat of our presentation. Okay, and I want to emphasize as well that the money that you contribute is going to stay in Porter Ranch. I want to make that very clear. Okay, now these actions have already been identified by the leadership at EHR, and in some manner are already all under some level of action. That is the acquisition of existing data for analysis. And I know Craig went into that some detail earlier again. The CBC data from Quest is a prime example of a data set that exists that we would like to get our hands on. We are working already with the CSUN Here Center in partnership to roll out a wide survey, likely door knocking survey in the community. We want to expand current CBC kidney and liver function testing. We want to grow our medical and administrative resources. Currently, Dr. Nordella, who you all know, is our we'll call him our chief medical consultant. But we are continuing with his help as well to expand and adding other medical personnel to our team, our larger team. One of those that we're really working hard to find is a pulmonologist, so that we can begin pulmonary testing. Okay. And lastly, we also want to secure independent mobile air monitoring. The air monitoring is a giant rabbit hole. I won't dive in too much. Let's just say suffice that whatever independent monitoring we were supposed to get, we clearly aren't getting because of the HMD. That's the proof is in the pudding. So again, we'll go out and we'll secure it ourselves. All right. These actions are not, they don't all happen in sequence. We are working on many of these items right now as I speak. And as funding comes in, or as we are ready to roll these out, we will do so immediately. The NC is also going to get the analysis derived from these different aspects in the health study. You will get them as much data as we can give you, following, of course, all HIPAA guidelines. And we'll get that data to you as we are able. It is entirely possible we will participate in peer review, portion of the study being peer reviewed. That, of course, will take time. Items that don't need to be peer reviewed, but have real consequences to not only Porter Ranch stakeholders, but everyone in the North Valley. It's our duty to push that information out as soon as possible so that the stakeholders can take whatever actions they deem necessary without any further delay. Okay. We also will recognize the PRNC as a donor on our website. We're currently setting up a donor page. I do want to share, we're very excited to announce that we presented at Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council last night, the same MPG with a $3,500 request, which they approved unanimously. So we are very excited to hit the ground in the Granada Hills North District. And we're hoping that you will follow suit tonight. You will really take the lead because I know a number of North Valley NCs look to you guys to lead on all the Aliso issues. There really is nothing else the NC can do that will directly affect your stakeholders in such a meaningful way. We really believe that. A lot of people come to the NCs and ask for money, and they'll help a small segment. So, maybe the children at the schools, or maybe the homeless in the area. This study is open to everybody who wants to participate. We hope, of course, with really good outreach between the board and EHR, that a large number of the stakeholders will participate, and we will finally try to get to the bottom of what, in terms of health effects, this community could be looking at. Next slide, please. So this brings us kind of to the end. I'll try to wrap up real quick. Here is some proposed motion language. At this point, I'd like to open it. If Craig or Brian just have a quick point they'd like to add, please take the floor. If not, I'm here and we're here for any questions anybody has.
Thank you, Andrew. Open up to the board. David Balin, floor is yours.
Good evening, guys. So I have concerns with your MPG motion. I'll be straight out. One, you said you got money from Granada Hills. My question is, isn't that a conflict of interest since you have a family member on that board? Or isn't Brian on that board? Isn't that a conflict of interest with you guys? But then the other thing is, more importantly, why aren't you reaching out to Don Giles, Gambles, with Argo Scientific when they have all this money to allocate to $3,500 would just be a drop in the bucket with the money that they're holding for the air monitoring.
Good questions. Thank you, David. There is, to clarify, not unless someone has an illegitimate child on Granada Hills North board, that's not an issue. Brian Allen recused himself from the proceedings in accordance with done procedures, and the board handled the business without him. At this time, there's been no objection to how they've handled it, so I'll assume everything is above board. regarding Dawn and the air monitoring, Dawn has no money for air monitoring. The AQMD has the money for air monitoring and has put the contract in what we'll call in the real world the contractual stage limbo. There are members of the CAG who have been reaching out for months to the appropriate personnel at the AQMD for an update, and no such update has really ever been furnished. What to take away from that, quite frankly, the AQMD does not want to put independent air monitoring here. That should not be a surprise to anyone on this board or anyone involved with the LISO over the last 6 years. So when that will happen, who knows? Now, the funding, if I may, David, yes, $3,500 is by itself a drop in the bucket. However, $3,500 does buy a significant number of blood tests or outreach or a number of other things that we can be doing now as the study continues to grow. Now, we will be going to other North Valley NCs. We will be filing an NIH grant in partnership with CSUN, the CSUN Here Center. We have obtained a small startup grant from a national foundation. And if I may be blunt, we are not going to stop looking for money, whether it be nickels, dimes, and quarters, or tens, hundreds, or millions of dollars from everywhere that we can in order to provide the study that we believe this community deserves based on its feedback over the last 2 years to the CAG. So I
Have
hope
you
that
spoken to
answers
the
your question.
councilman's office?
Say that again?
Have you spoken to the councilman's office? They're sitting on all the Sunshine Canyon money, which Brian's well aware of. I don't see why you should be coming to the neighborhood councils asking for money when there's money that can come right from CD12. There's millions of dollars that are sitting there that I think they should be willing to dip in. If they dipped in $100,000 for one of the neighborhood councils, I think they should be able to dip in for quite a bit of money to support you and your endeavor. Thank you.
I certainly would accept money from CD12 and maybe outside of this MPG, maybe this neighborhood council furnishing a letter to CD12 making that request would be, I think, very helpful.
I would be more inclined to support a letter asking for money from councilman's office to dip into the Sunshine Canyon to support this request before taking it from the taxpayers, since we have so little. But I know that they have a lot, and Jason's not here, but and Andrew, you sat on a treasurer, how much money they have on the Sunshine Canyon, and so does Brian Allen. So I think that's really where you should be looking. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Brian, you have your hand up?
Yes, and thank you for recognizing me. I do want to just share something because the statement was made by David that I'm on the board and he was questioning the conflict of interest issue. I have never spoken to my board about this NPG. I have purposely tried to be absolutely above board with regards to any endeavor that EHR has with an NPG and Granada Hills North. My board took this under advisement on their own, and I'd just like to share with you what the Vice President of Granada Hills North issued to Andrew today. And just one sentence. She says, "Our community and future generations will be eternally grateful for the work of EHR." Now, why did she do that? She did that because our board feels that the money that we are spending on the issues of collecting information on actual constituents of our community is going to be well served to the community specifically, not to the city as a whole, but to the community. It goes to helping the individuals who, and we have injured parties in Granada Hills North, It goes to helping them try to ensure as much as they can that their health is going to be in some way or another helped or protected. I don't know if I was there and if I could have been there to speak, I would have made the statement. And I know you're going to feel I'm biased on all of this because I'm part of EHR, but I honestly feel that there is no better use of NC funds than to provide them directly to the individuals that we represent. And by us paying for their testing is the best way we can do it. There is nothing we can do in Granada Hills North that is more directly attributable to the constituents than something of that nature. And all the money that we spend throughout this city, very little, if any, have I seen that has gone to specifically helping a constituent in their personal health. So I feel compelled to make that kind of a statement because I think it's important that we all understand that we have a responsibility to our fellow neighbors, and when there is a disaster of this nature, it's important. And it's probably the most important thing that we will be able to do in our lifetime in this area. So I just wanted to share that with you because we felt it was important. But thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Brian. Voss? You're muted, Voss.
In the NPG application, I do not see the total project cost. And I would like to know the total cost of the project. Then I would like to know, like they have got the money from Granada Hill, they have got or they are going to get from National Foundation. I would like to know what are the other sources they are going to get money from or they are requesting them. And the second thing, the other thing is that are you going to hire paid employees to implement this project? And also, I'm not aware of your mission statement. If I can get that one, and I will appreciate that.
Voss, thank you for the questions. Let's see if I can remember them in reverse order. Please go to our website at ehrusa.org. You should find our mission statement there. What is the total price of the project is undefined. It's infinite. Just as the $25 million health study with the county isn't really $25 million. It's only how much money they have. The fact is we are going to keep moving forward and raise as much money as we possibly can until someone tells us there's no more point in researching this. That could be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And that could be $1 million, $10 million, or $100 million. We have no idea. We are unfortunately scratching the surface. Why? And this is a topic you guys are well aware of. That's because we do not have the list of chemicals. We are, and I say we, everyone who was exposed during this disaster, all standing around the biggest haystack you've ever seen with the smallest needle you've ever seen, and we have to go look for it. And we have to try to find it. So we are, there isn't, in terms of the MPG, in terms of kind of the perfunctory filling out of the MPG, the overall project has no total. The money that we're asking for from the various NCs is specifically to get people and get testing done within those specific borders now. It will not be enough money. Let's be very clear. $3,500 is a start, but it's a start. If we could get 100 people through the doors and get them tested today, that is immensely more valuable than waiting 9 more months for public health to do who knows what they're going to do. So that's why we don't have a problem coming for the little chunks early. I think the other question you asked was who else are we looking for money from?
Are you going to hire paid employees for this, or you will be doing it from your
No,
yourself?
we will have to hire people eventually. I mean, there'll be a significant number of tasks, downstream to do. Whether we have to hire door knockers, whether we have to hire statisticians, whether we have to pay consulting fees for different medical staff. I believe the answer is going to be to any and all of that, really, at some point in this process. This money is not going to any paid staff, this $3,500.
So this 3,500 is not going to any paid staff.
Correct.
And I see the date is January 11 to start this project, and the money is required by January 1st. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really an arbitrary date because work is excuse me, work is already ongoing. As soon as we receive the money will start getting utilized for actions within the Porter Ranch, within the Porter Ranch boundaries. Again, the MPG just requires some type of start and finish date. It's basically right away would be the answer if I could really put that on the application. The money's needed right away and the project will begin right away.
So how much money you plan to have in your hands by January 11 to start this project?
Well, that's really a tough answer.
No, I mean, you have put the date as January 11, so we need to know.
The truth of the matter is as much as possible. The answer is as much as possible.
No, I know that, but I mean, you must be having a plan. You are going to start on January 11. How much we will be spending in 6 months from January through June? We need some steps how you are going to start and do this project.
So let me kind of go backwards. Each $3,500 nugget, and again, we're going to go in the next meeting cycle. Our intention is to visit Chatsworth, Northridge West, Northridge East, Granada Hills South. Okay, that's another handful. We would hope that all of them would contribute at the maximum level. Let's just say there's 6 councils at that level. So that's 18, about $21,000. We have another small grant for startup and operations, basically double that. So by January 11th, it would be great to have $50,000 or $60,000 at our disposal to get started with. But we don't need $50,000 or $60,000 to get started. Is I guess the point I want to emphasize. Your $3,500 enables us to get started in Porter Ranch immediately.
So that was my question. Like, since you are going to do it in phases, you are getting the money in phases. So we can also think over giving you something now, and the balance we can just see whatever and wherever it is possible, you show the progress, and we go for the other money as the steps are continuing. How about that one? You don't need the money at this in one go. You don't need all the 3,500.
Well, respectfully, whatever component of the 3,500 you choose not to do tonight is only going to limit what we can do right now in Porter Ranch. I'm not sure why.
But you don't have the money for all the whole project. You are going to in phases. Whatever money you are getting, you are going to start it and spend it, and whatever you get, you are going into that planning also. So it is not there that you will get all the 100% or all the 50,000 by January 11 or so.
Correct, but let's say, for example, if I may pose this hypothetical to you, if the $3,500 allows us to outreach and run 100 tests of Porter Ranch stakeholders between now and the middle of January, why? And instead the board decides to give us, let's call it half, and we can do half the tests. What benefit to the community is there to have waited?
No, in that case, I would like to say you should have made the plan that you should have approached the neighborhood 6 neighborhood council well before 3 months or so before the start of the project. So you could have, instead of having 3,500 at this time, it could be from different councils, maybe $2,000 or something. So then you could have enough money to start the project rather than asking the 100% at this time.
Okay, I mean, that's a fair comment. I will indicate as a federal 501c3. We've been working on this for probably 9 months. None of the fundraising can really begin until we get the IRS determination letter, which, as I'm sure you know, is a process with a totally non-determined time. The IRS will work when the IRS works. And as my day job as an accountant, I can speak to that probably more than anyone on this call. Within a week of getting that letter and being able to fundraise, we've already moved forward with 1 grant and have now spoken to 2 NCs. And I'm going to say no more than 3 weeks total time. So this group is not sitting on its laurels. This group is moving forward as quickly as possible as the different financial steps allow, because we understand from our experience, not only just being, stakeholders in Porter Ranch and having to live through the blowout, but as CAG members, that the thing that is the worst thing in the world right now is to allow more time to go by without doing work, without doing research. Okay? That's what
Okay.
DPH is trying to do, is drag this on. They're trying to get outside of the settlement, because then who cares? Who cares what the health study finds? We need to get started right now. If I could have gotten my IRS letter 6 months ago, we would have been here 6 months ago. But we would have been 6 months farther ahead. Unfortunately, the process is the process.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thanks,
Thank you, boss. Thank you, Andrew. Brandy?
So the California Public Utilities Commission has already increased Aliso's capacity, doubled it. They're already starting. In the last 2 weeks, I have repeatedly, and my family has repeatedly smelled gas, suffered migraine headaches, suffered nosebleeds, suffered brain fog, suffered extreme dizziness, fatigue. It keeps going. I don't want my 6-year-old crying because his head hurts anymore. This is our backyard. It's wonderful that these other NCs are standing up and taking notice. It's wonderful that they are standing up and opening their wallets to help, because it does impact them too. But this is our backyard. By voting in favor of something like this, by essentially letting the community take this and run with it, we've already said we have no confidence. We officially said we had no confidence in what DPH has been doing. We officially said we support everything CAG has been saying about the way the health study is going. And we need the community to run forward with this. This is the first group I've seen that is taking active steps to do that. So 1,000, 1,500, 3,500, Jason already said we're nowhere near what very much money that we've spent, and we can only roll over 10,000. What is the point of the money if not to focus on our priorities? Voting in favor of this isn't just about the particular project they're doing, though it is. It's also a vote of confidence for having the community take the reins and run with it. And it is a statement of priority from the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council that we are serious, that we want Aliso taken care of, that we want a health study done, talking about what is happening to us and our families. So I have no intention of dropping the 3,500. It's a drop in the bucket. It's not very much money, honestly. I would rather we just vote for this, go forward, and do what we can to support getting actual health study information that can help our entire community and our neighbors. That's my position.
Thank you, Brandy. Assad?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Well, this is a very big issue, and I agree with everybody, and I agree with Andrew. He needs to knock every single door. And just so that I correct, maybe I misunderstood Brandy. This is EHR we're talking about here. We're not talking CAG. The money is for the nonprofit EHR, and we should be, the focus is how to get this 501c, raise money to help the community. I agree with David. There is a lot of money in sunshine. and we should tap into it. We should reach to all the senates, to all the Congress, to all the federal money out there, to all the little departments within the city for funding. There is a lot of places where sustainability could fit in for the monitoring system. I agree with Andrew. He has to knock every single dollar place, every single place, and get the money through it. Without standing together and getting exactly the study going on, without knowing the numbers, without knowing what hit us, we cannot prevent what's going to be happening to our kids, our grandchildren, and all that. We all have the symptoms. It's not something we can hide. We are living with it, we're walking with it, and somehow we will have to survive with it. And I agree with Vas, especially Andrew. You should have sort of a line item where the money is going. You're a very smart accountant. You should have a plan, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to whatever Z is. Speculate, put together an imaginary projection budget of how much you want, so that at least when you come to stakeholders or to PRNC and other neighborhood council, you could say, right now we're undefined. The undefined, you could put it at this time. Say, if you say we have 35,000 stakeholders and each one you need $100, then do the math accordingly and use a sampling. But we would like to see a number. Personally, I would like to see a line item. 3,500 is not going to do much, but it's a start. We all have to start somewhere. As a stakeholder, as a community leader, I support you in your effort, and you need to knock more doors, and let's get that money from the sunshine. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Assad. I agree with your comments. I also agree with Brandy's comments. This is very important to the community. And yeah, I understand that there's no actual numbers in the future. I wish there were actual total cost as well. But this is a group, to my understanding, that's actually stepping up for the community and worth giving them a chance, as long as they go after all of the other offices as well. John Lee's office, like David said, Sunshine Canyon, very important. There's money sitting there. I'm in support of this, seeing that it's a nonprofit trying to do good for the community. And yes, David.
So a couple things I wanted to, I support what they're doing. I appreciate what Vaz is saying. I appreciate what Assad is saying. I appreciate what Brandy's saying. So what my recommendation would be, because we don't know what the cost is for the testing. I mean, because who knows if the testing is feasible, let's say they can get testing done, blood testing, or however whatever testing they're going to, let's say it's $150. I bet you there's people, or even $250. I bet there's people in the community that say, great, I'm glad you brought that to us. I want to be part of it. I want to put my own money out, because I would like to know and I can give it to you. For instance, when we had the gas blowout, I went around and I put out canisters, for the community. I must have put out, I don't know, 12, 14 canisters out into the community to do testing. And I know that people would be willing to back this. So my recommendation to show support, because Brandy says, I'd be willing to reduce this until we start getting this, until they come to us with solid numbers, maybe $1,500 to $2,000, just to show good faith, to see where we're going with this and get some numbers. And you're absolutely correct. Andrew's a brilliant accountant, and he's putting a lot of time in all this. So he was our treasurer, and we need to support him. And Craig, they've done a great job for us, and so as well as Brian. So I just think 3,500 is a little steep. I would like them to reconsider and come back with some better numbers. And I think we should probably start around $2,000 to show support for them. And let's see where this goes.
Thank you, David. let me add 2 more questions here, Brandy and then Voss, and then we'll see where it leads to.
Thanks, Gabriel. I just wanted to clarify. So there was my comments about CAG is that if DPH were doing everything hunky-dory, sunshines and rainbows, nobody and CAG would have come back and said, this is all taken care of, and we wouldn't need what EHR is presenting to us today. So my comment about CAG is that we agreed with everything they said. We showed public support for their statements about why the health study under DPH is failing. And that was the information that leads to the necessity of EHR's work. So that's what I meant about CAG. I did not mean to imply that I thought we were in any way funding CAG through this. I agree that it is always better to have completed information on your budgets. And if 2,000 will make the board more comfortable, I'll go with that. But yeah, I think that showing confidence and support will help. Even if we go with the Sunshine Canyon money, which I think is a great idea, having money from our NC helps. On top of maybe we can do a letter. But if we rejected even this small amount, they might look at it and go, why, when we're the Aliso Canyon group, why are they saying no to you when we've been pegged as the forefront of this issue? So yeah, I think any amount that we give them is just an important statement of confidence and support. Thanks. Thank you, Brandy.
This is not, let's just be correct. This is not Aliso Canyon. I mean, this is AHUSA. So we need to be, spot on what we're giving our money to and what we're supporting. And yes, it's an offshoot of that, but let's be specific. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to say let's give money to Aliso Canyon, so it's not like that.
All right, Voss.
Okay, I agree with Brandy's views. I agree with David's views. I agree with Andrew also. But I, being a professional, I believe from inception to planning to implementation, I still believe the project should be carried out with the numbers and all the other things, special planning, when what is going to be done. So in that preview, I was referring that we can start with some amount and then later we can see the situation in our future meeting. So as the situation goes by, but I appreciate this EHR is, I appreciate the Brandy's view. I agree with David, Balin and Asad. But my views are that it should be a plan in a professional and in a way that you should be able to convince someone if you want the money. That is my preview. Thank you.
Thank you, Voss.
You're welcome.
And with no further questions and comments, Andrew, you want to say something else real quick? Add anything before we call a vote?
Look, I appreciate, everybody's comments. This has been quite an endeavor and, certainly I would like to be, a little more organized. Unfortunately, fighting a disaster like this, and the health study might as well be a disaster on its own. It has taken, I don't know, thousands of hours. In our push to try to get real boots on the ground and real action, may mean that we don't have a specific budget. What I may throw out, and yes, you're all going to think I'm biased, and that's fine, because it's my organization that's asking for money, albeit that I don't get it, that money doesn't benefit me other than it allows me to do work for your constituents, is this. Porter Ranch has and again, I speak of this as a former board member. I believe the email list to Porter Ranch is something like 4,000 addresses long. How many people come to meetings? Not many. Okay. The point is this: the apathy and the ability to garner interest in things like the NC, in things like a CAG meeting, for example, is incredibly difficult. To garner and overcome apathy related to Aliso is another very large hurdle that must be accomplished. Why? It's 6 years ago. People are looking about what possible settlement they might get. We have a global pandemic. People are just tired of it. They just want to move on, and so on and so on. For us to be able to tell you, I mean, I could come up with a budget and present it to you, but respectfully, as an accountant, it would be complete BS. Why? Because every single line item is its own variable, a substantial variable. What we have to do and we have to overcome, and not just for Porter Ranch, and not just for Granada Hills North or any, in general, is overcoming the apathy of a group of several 100,000 people, 35,000 people in Porter Ranch, who have only been losing in every single battle related to Aliso Canyon. The most recent, Brandy brought up, which is the PUC decision to expand Aliso again. There have been virtually no victories for the stakeholders who were so grossly poisoned by this disaster. EHR and our ability to provide an independent, clinically based, patient-centric health study, what the community wants is finally a victory. And the board has an opportunity to take a leadership position in that victory by standing up and saying, we're going to support this group with $3,500, which is not a lot of money compared to what you have. That's just a fact. And say, we believe in this group and we are supporting our stakeholders. Stakeholders participate in this. Okay? That is a leadership position that I think behooves the board. It makes the board look fantastic for one, and I think it helps chip away at the overall apathy that exists within, again, not just Porter Ranch, but in the whole area related to Aliso. There are so many factors depressing participation that we need to get through. We need big steps. That's my view. We need big steps, not baby steps. And I very respectfully ask the board to consider joining Granada Hills at the full 3,500. And thank you for the opportunity for a final statement and to present this motion to you.
Thank you, Andrew. I got Voss and Balin, and then we're gonna call a vote. We have, time is.
Thank you. I'm going to jump on it before Voss, because my question is for Voss. Voss, what is your recommendation? Because you left me hanging there, and I'll support whatever Voss's recommendation is because he sees the same way I do. Voss, what is your recommendation?
Okay, the first thing is that we are halfway through the fiscal year and we have some other things to do also, and you never know, something can come up in future. So considering everything, I recommend that motion may be amended to $1,000.
I'll second Voss's motion at $1,000, Gabriel.
Thank you. Second. Any other comments on it?
Yeah, Gabe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've quietly listened and taken all this in. I think there's some great comments all around. We gave more money to restore a door at the police station. And I find that outrageous. I mean, the LAP's capital improvement budget, it's like $22 million. And we gave up, I think it was $4,500 to restore a door in their lobby. Why we can't do 35 for this is beyond me. And that's all I have to say.
So would you like to? We have
I
a
would
motion,
support the
we have a
35.
motion and a second at 1,000 right now. Would you like to make another motion at 35?
I would like to, keep maintaining it at the original level. It's not like we're allocating 10 or 15 or 20,000. I see, I respectfully to Dave's point and Voss's point, but we've spent a hell of a lot more on a hell of a lot less.
Oh, I need to correct David Lasher on that regarding the LAPD. And Gabriel would be able to attest this. What our money did for them was to support, being able to allow the citizens of the Devonshire Division to come in and get the assistance. So we put in It wasn't a door. It was basically plexiglass to keep the officers able to facilitate taking reports, all the reports that come through those doors. And it was definitely needed due to all the monies that LAPD has lost. Unfortunately, LAPD needed that more than anything else. And once again, I'm not saying that we don't need to support this. Like Voss, I want to see numbers. I want to see what our goal is. I want to see a starting point. I want to see an ending point. But let me tell you something. At the end of the day, when we submit this to Paola, she's going to say, what's the beginning? What's the end? What is the overall cost? They're going to throw this out if they don't have a starting ending date. So I would, we can come back. They can come back next month, and we can do it again. I'm just saying we should still support and have a starting point on this. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Mr. Gibson, are you here? Gibson?
Yes, I am.
Quick question for you. We have a motion, and then the motion was amended. We have a first and a second with another motion afterwards to go back to the original motion. How should I proceed on this?
So if there's a motion to make an amendment, then you have to vote on the amendment first.
Okay, so the original motion dies at the moment. So we have a first and a second on the amended motion. So in order for the third back to the original motion, we have to vote on this amended motion to re-amend. Is that correct?
Yeah, because you're gonna take action to amend the motion, you do that. And if the board decides to go with the amended motion, then you vote on the amended motion and then you go from there. But because there's an amendment of the floor and there's a second, you do have to vote on that first.
All right, let's move ahead, board.
Wait. But since there's a second motion, which I'll second, to amend the amendment, even though it goes back to the original, I think we have to vote on that first, because
Yes.
if the 3,500 fails, then I can vote on the whatever it was.
So yes, you have to vote on the amendment to the amendment. So you start with the
Excellent. I
second.
second the amendment to the
Yes.
amendment.
So
And then
what number are we? So we have a
You start with
3,500,
3,500.
9,000
If that
and
fails-
3,500.
Yeah, you have to start with 3,500 because there was an amendment of the amendment. If the 3,500 fails, then you go to the 1,000, 2,000, whatever it was. And then if that fails, since we already voted on the other version first, we don't need to do the regular motion again.
I disagree because we had a motion on the board. We had a motion on the floor. Nothing happened to that motion. We came up with an option for a reduced amount. We had the motion on that by Mr. Singh, and then I second the motion at $1,000 for that. That should be the motion at hand, Gibson.
No, he's right. Amendment on the amendment.
So what-
$1,000.
No, that was the amendment. The amendment on the amendment is back to 3,500.
But I don't think you can do that.
I'm
Once
letting
you have
Gibson
something on
decide
the
on
floor,
this
you
one.
can't do that. You've got to,
So you're not,
gotta
so
go with
most
the
times
vote.
you're not supposed to make an amendment to the amendment without first voting on the amendment.
thank you.
So how should we proceed on this one? So we have the 3,500 and we have an amendment, a first and a second with an amendment of a first and a second.
I can look it up, but this is how we've done it in other Robert's Rules of Order place. If somebody makes an amendment and somebody amends the amendment, you vote on the amendment of the amendment, then the amendment, then the original.
It's your call, Mr. Gibson. I
Say
have
that
no
5
idea how
times
to answer
fast.
this one.
Yeah, right?
I'd have to go.
I've
through the
gone 5
Robert's-
amendments deep in things before.
I do have the Robert's Rules of Order book, but I would have to find the amendment, the conversation about the amendment to the amendment, because I think in this situation, what I'd say is because we would vote on the amendment to the amendment and then come back to the amendment, and then if they all fail, then we just stick back, we go back to the original motion.
Which is the amended.
Which is right. So if either of the amendments fail, then the board will take action on the original amendment.
Okay, so
Right.
we should vote the amended, which is the
Yes, start
3,500
there.
now?
Mhm.
All right. So I have
But
a
most
first,
times, I think because there's already a second to the amendment most times what you do is you take action on the first amendment before you make any more additions. But yes, start with the amendment to the amendment.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rule. Can be, a motion can be amended. The amendment can be amendment. The amendment can be amended. You can only vote on one amendment at a time, but you don't have to vote on the original amendment before the new amendment goes into play.
A lot of amendments.
Yes.
All right, so the amendment of the amendment motion of $3,500, which David Lasher made the motion and Brandy Grace seconded the motion, is the one we're voting on first. Let's call the vote on this amended of the original motion of 3,500. Wow. All right, David Lasher.
I can see the writing on the wall, but yes.
Thank you. David Balin.
No.
Thank you, Hilda. You're muted, Hilda.
Yes.
Thank you. Jason is recused. Lewis is absent. Becky recused. Brandy?
Yes.
Thank you. Jennifer is recused. Voss?
No.
Thank you. Christine is recused. Gabriel, yes. So we got 4 yeses, 2 nos, 1 absent, and 4 recused. So based on these numbers, motion passes. Mr. Gibson, confirm.
I think we scared him away.
No, I'm here. I'm just, I was trying to read as much as I can. So, because I also have the Robert's Rule Order book, but I think you went the right direction. Yes.
Okay, so 4 yeses, 2 nos, motion passes. Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. That was the wildest motion I've been through. That's for sure.
Good job.
And let's move on. Next one is presentation by Department of Neighborhood Empowerment of Core Institute Training. Mr. Gibson, this is all yours again.
So because of unforeseen circumstances and trying to get everybody situated, especially when it comes to, we were trying to get the Office of the City Attorney Dispute Resolutions Office to come and do training with us. I think I'm just kind of doing board dynamics. We were not able to do that, but what I definitely want to do, because I know we've gone in a couple of things, I want to touch base on what was talked about in the Core Institute. I'd like to definitely just kind of bring that to everybody's attention. Let's see. In a second. I think one thing is, I always like to tell everybody, I try to also have the book as much as I can in terms of, I like to sort of be able to have the book, the Robert's Rules of Order, because sometimes I also get stumped myself. So, want to touch base on a couple of things that were brought up to our attention during the Core Institute, right? One thing in the third, as you know, we've been doing this Core Institute training for the past 6 months. And so this was the last one that was done on November 30th. And they were talking about meeting agendas, community impact statements, and also sort of committees. So that's why I wanted to just kind of bring some discussion into this. I think bringing into focus as to what was discussed during this board meeting is helpful for folks. Next. So Raquel definitely did the conversation. We had several presenters. This was the timeline that we've had since May until the end of this year. So what we've been trying to also do is just kind of close out this chapter of the modular training. We will have more next year. One thing that we've noted is the importance of having these trainings that sort of popped up, right? One thing that they were talking about is talking about agenda items. I'm not going to do Q&A as much because I definitely just want to touch base on, especially with AB 361, the latest additions. We are working with our whether you're committee chair or board member or board chair, you'll be getting sometimes that the agendas bounce back because we are asking folks to make the amendment, the changes that so we can be in accordance with AB 361. This is where we want to make sure that the agendas are properly they are properly, what's the right word? they're in line with the requirement of agenda posting. And so want to touch everybody's comfortable. I'm going to touch on a couple of things I don't want to touch base on. The Ralph Brown, the Brown Act. I want to talk about that a lot. I want to emphasize on agenda items, right? I'm not going to get into the purposes just because of that. And also I want to get into the conversations of the item for MPGs and NC events too. So I'm going to be jumping around. So slow me down if I talk too fast, because I have a tendency to do that. So we always talk about the Brown Act because we also need to sort of understand where the history of the Brown Act comes from, right? We want to touch base with Mr. Ralph M. Brown. He was the Assembly Speaker from 1943 to 1961. And he is the one who, his name is on the law that we use for all our committee meetings, all public meetings, and it was enacted in 1953. Christine, you have your hand raised up? Christine?
I think she just came back on.
Okay.
Well, we also, we didn't tell them that the motion passed, so.
Oh, for the previous amendment?
Speaking of transparency.
Okay, so so the Brown Act is the state law that governs all open meetings for governing bodies. It does establish the rules that we abide by. And so that's why we talk about that when it comes to posting hierarchy, there's the Brown Act, and then there's the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners requirements. The Brown Act is the one that's on the state level, and then Bonk's posting agenda posting policies is what comes after that, right? One thing about the Brown Act is it enables us to make sure that all meetings are open, especially in the setting of neighborhood council processes. Per the Brown Act, neighborhood councils cannot have any closed meetings. Within the neighborhood council system, all meetings must be open, even if it's a retreat, a committee meeting. The only thing that does not fall in line with the Brown Act is an ad hoc committee, which is a temporary committee. It does not have stakeholders for board members. But what I like to sort of remind everybody as a best practice is, especially when you're having an ad hoc committee, making sure that it's short term, 3 months, 3 to 6 months tops. Don't push it as much. And if you also want to bring in discussion, just have it posted like a regular standing committee meeting. That goes a long way. It enables us to touch base on that. And it just gives us the capacity to function properly, right? So as everybody knows, at least AB 361 is the one that was signed by the governor on October 1. It made some amendments on the Brown Act, in due fact, with how the agendas are posted, public comment, and meeting interruptions. So one thing about this has been very interesting is virtual meetings will continue. On our interpretation as neighborhood council meetings will continue to be entirely virtual. In accordance with the law AB 361, the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners will take responsibility to findings that support continuation of virtual meetings every 30 days. That means every month, Bonk takes action as to whether to end the virtual process, the virtual setting for meetings, or start the conversation for the hybrid model. One thing, as we talked about, is right. This is a requirement for neighborhood councils. This was in conversation and further assessment with the city attorney's office. We touched base on how a section 902. Take a look right here. 902. Right, -B/B of the city charter is where this is where the assessment was the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners has the authority to make this decision. And so right now, Bonk is the one every 30 days. If there's going to be a change on any bylaws, Bonk, there will be a notification as to what Bonk has made any changes in that type of capacity. Want to touch base on the agenda setting. So a couple things that will be happening as we touched base upon is some of the standard language in your agendas will there'll be a couple updates. I'll send out an agenda that has the highlighted yellow. One thing that we definitely add is this, if you have a time slot on your agenda, you cannot take action until that time slot comes to an end, which is why I always recommend that we don't put any time slots, any time allocation, anything that says 5-10 minutes. It can work in our favor and it can work against us. So sometimes it's just best to remove it, because sometimes whenever a meeting, let's say for today, if the meeting was actually any shorter, we would be mandated to stay within the time slot. And we always want to make sure that we avoid doing that, right? One thing that talks about AB 361 also talks about how public comment cannot be submitted in advance. One thing that previously happened is several local agencies and commissions were taking public comment in advance. So folks would be able to, it's just how it was happened previously. So we want to make sure that we've always discouraged against that. And we want to emphasize that it's stated in AB 361. So it cannot happen. So I always make sure we always avoid that. One thing that AB 61 that does talk about is the interruptions within meetings. If there's an interruption during a virtual meeting and the public is unable to participate in this meeting, you are supposed to take a recess, right? Take a short recess. But if the disruption is only impacting one stakeholder, then the meeting can continue. It should not come to a recess. If the board does want to do that, it's AB 361 makes a distinction between members of the public and an individual member, right? So that's one thing that I also want to emphasize is like there is a little slight difference between the two, and I want to make sure that folks are aware of that difference. Jason, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
But I want you to finish. Are you done? Or
I have a tendency where if I see a rand, I'm just gonna stop what I'm saying.
well, I was
I'll take
talking
the
about
question.
meetings. My question is about meetings and committee meetings. So, like our committee is a small committee, and we meet in the library, Porter Ranch Library. So, can we hold the meeting because the library's open? And
Is it a standing committee?
yes,
Is it posted and like regular? Is it posted
Yeah.
in accordance?
yeah,
All meetings should happen virtually. All meetings right now should happen virtually. There's no because the reason why when you do your meeting in the library, what happens if the stakeholder doesn't want to be able to come to a meeting and they still want to participate?
well, they
And
can
we
come
don't
in
have
because well, that's my point. Is they can come. There's no restriction to people coming in the library.
Yeah, but we still haven't been able to make sure that we've followed public health guidelines for being in public settings, right? So especially when it comes to government meetings, there hasn't been. That's a little different because we haven't gotten to the stage where who's going to be the one who administering the requirement of showcasing your vaccine
The
cards.
library, the city, the public library. It's a city entity that holds the meet. Well, so the library is open to the public.
Yes.
So
But also,
anybody
what
can
if
come
stakeholder?
into the meeting, right?
One thing about it is you're not supposed to be having any physical meetings right now because what if we have not been able to also come up with the address any requests for telecommunications if folks want to still be at home and want to be able to participate to your meeting and they don't feel comfortable to be in a public setting.
Well, if that happens, then we can cancel.
Okay, so one thing about it is I'm just letting you know all meetings should be virtual within the neighborhood council system.
Gibson.
Yes, Mr.
Wait,
Singh.
wait, boss, I'm not finished, boss.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. So if we had that request, Gibson, we could cancel, but I'm trying to grapple with the fact that the library is open, and so we should have the opportunity to have public meetings, right?
My
Because
question.
it's
it
a
goes
city
in line with-
entity, right?
It goes in line with all other public meetings. Right now, there is no public meeting being held that's physically open. All public meetings are still virtual.
Yeah. Well, I guess I just want to voice my personal feeling is that they're restricting us from doing what we do, right? As neighborhood councils, because like, maybe you can opine on the city as a general, you know, our what's going on with the city, you know, what's going on, because city council is holding meetings, right?
Yeah, and there's
Board of Public Works is holding meetings, right?
virtual. I always like to emphasize that while they may not look, one thing is right now it's still virtually, it's a telehybrid model, especially with the city council, and that's why they're using the virtual element to do public comment.
So are
Public
we on the
commission
same
meetings are
platform?
telehealth. No,
Are we being treated the same as Public Works, City Council?
public commission meetings are still virtual as well. The only
So
one that
there's
is
no-
in a different
So the
model.
public cannot attend if I go down to City Hall, I can't get in.
There's no City Hall is not open to the public in different floors, but it is open virtually. All the meetings are
I get,
televised.
we're not talking about virtually, Gibson. We're talking about in-person meetings.
We're talking about accessibility.
Yeah,
That's what
accessibility. So forget virtually from this whole
Virtual is still
conversation.
accessible. We can't get into, I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't get back and forth with that one because it's still one of the situations where within the neighborhood council system, Bonk is taking action to have all meetings to be virtual.
Right, I get that, So the city is all virtual right now? All
Commission
city
meetings are
departments
still-
are
most-
meeting virtually?
Most if not all,
Okay.
because I haven't seen any commission meeting that's open to the public in terms of the physical location. They're
I
all
just-
virtually opened. Stakeholders can participate. Also, city council meetings are televised to Channel 35, and folks are able to easily call in. Folks can watch all the.
I
city
get
council
it,
meetings.
but I'll just wrap it up by saying that it's disappointing because anybody can go into the library and attend the meeting
I like to
without
emphasize this.
restriction.
We're still in a pandemic. I like to sort of emphasize that part. We're
Right,
still
but
not out of this. We're
but
not
there's
in the clear.
there's still allowing people to go into the facility. So why not have the meeting?
Hey, Jason, the Burbank Public Library is open too, but our Burbank City Meetings, my employer, their city council is locked out. So it's the same type of situation.
Yeah, and I was at the library 2 days ago. They did not check vaccine cards.
So I'd like to emphasize with everybody, we're still in
Can
the
we
middle of a
raise our,
pandemic.
we just speak, because I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Levesque.
Okay, are we allowed to have like movies in the park? Are we allowed
Everything
to
is
do
be-
functions besides meetings? Like outreach for the community to bring us together, like to have a movie in the park? Is that allowed?
I don't have an answer to that question, but one
Okay.
thing I like to remind everybody, we're not clear out of this pandemic. And I'm not a public health official, but within the capacity within the neighborhood council system, all public meetings, committees, and board meetings must be virtual.
Okay, so it's, because one of the things that we have to look at as a neighborhood council is for outreach. So if we're reaching out to people, we can't do it in a public setting. And it's okay if you don't know because
There's additional guidelines. I'm not saying no, I'm just saying there has to be guidelines that are followed to when an event is being held,
Gotcha.
especially when it comes to public health guidelines. I just like to sort of emphasize we're in a pandemic still. And once we stay clear after we're getting better public health guidelines, yes. But right now, I think there's still complexities of doing public events. There's still processes there's additional steps when it comes to holding public events. And I like to sort of emphasize that part.
Okay, thank you.
Gibson?
Yes, Mr. Singh.
Okay, would you provide us more information on the new law which is coming that even the standing committee members, ad hoc committee members, and the community stakeholders who are members of these committees, they will have to sign a form going forward. Can you provide more information on that?
Going
As a
forward in terms of
loyalty or whatever form is that? There was a new, I heard new law that everybody will have to sign, even the community stakeholders, before they being the member of the committee?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure which type of law you're talking about in terms of, are you talking about the trainings that are required for state committee
no,
members and board
No, no,
members?
the ad hoc committee members and the other standing committee member, and now they added the community stakeholders. They will have to sign the form if they want to become the member.
We haven't gotten to that stage where we're mandating stakeholders. Any
we-
policy right now is geared towards board
We were
members.
told we were told in one of this one Civic U, and we were attending that when we were told in that new law is coming.
So until the new law sort of has a better guideline, I think I'm not too sure. I'm not sure which law you're talking about, I'll be honest with you. Because the one that we're talking about is the trainings that are right now mandated are for board members who are board members, and in the capacity of planning and land use, it's a training that's mandated for stakeholders who are part of the planning and land use committee. There may be some changes down the line, but right now the requirement is just for board members and in planning and land use committee members.
Yeah, because they were saying that from now on, community stakeholder who are a member of the committee, maybe planning, I don't know, but they will have to sign the form before they can become the members.
Oh, we're talking about code of conduct. Are you talking about code of conduct?
Maybe.
So as you know, right now, code of conduct is still being discussed at the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. It is on our website that sort of details as to how the code of conduct will fall in line moving forward if it is adopted by the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. Because right now it's still a draft, and I'm not equipped enough to say yes, it's going to be voted on. Once it's there, I will definitely be able to provide an update. Yes, Ms. Brandy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've never got an answer on this. Maybe you know, maybe you don't at this point. So let's just jump ahead to the future and assume there's a point where we are allowed to have in-person meetings again. So in that circumstance, if you have two members of the public who both show up to attend this publicly open, accessible meeting, and one of them has a restraining order against the other, do you have to enforce the restraining order, or do you have to allow the person whom it's against to come in because it's their public right to participate, but they're not allowed to be in the space as the other person?
What we try to do is we try to it will, whatever is in details of the restraining order is what we will enforce. I don't do the what do you call it? What's the word? Scenarios are not my strong suit.
Got it.
But if there's if the scenario comes out that there is sort of details when it comes to a restraining order, then we'll work on and making sure that's enforced. Until then, I always like to emphasize, let's not work with scenarios, but let's see what's within our guidelines and what we do have, especially when it comes to the law. And that's why I like to touch base on AB 361 so we can deal with what law is in effect right now.
I get that, but I think that having scenarios allows us to prepare for responses in the moment rather than let's stop the meeting so we can spend an hour figuring out what we were supposed to do. But go ahead.
Let's do this. I will put that to note, but right now we're not proactive in that capacity in creating policy that far ahead. I think it's symbolic of with the city system. We are reactive, and I'll always acknowledge it. It's not something I'm a fan of, but it's something that you want to avoid, right? I think if government can be more proactive, things can go a long way for better. So I'll definitely put a pin on that, and so we can just kind of touch base and be respectful of everybody's time, because I want to make sure we don't stay too long. Want to touch base on what it means to be a Brown Act compliant meeting today, right? Making sure that in all the agendas, you have a meeting location and a Zoom link with the webinar number and the phone number to call in. The department made sure that each Zoom account that's purchased has the additional 669 number. I like to sort of tell folks to add multiple phone numbers, because sometimes that the 1-800 number or the 888 number does get busy sometimes. Technology can be technology. As much as we try to prepare, it may happen, but we always like to make sure have multiple of those phone numbers. So if folks want to call in, they're just able to call in. But Zoom has made their app as accessible as possible. So I think hopefully we are going in the right direction. Right, again, everything must be listed about the agendas that are being discussed. That's why I would like to make sure that everybody is detailing everything within the agenda, right? How you want to discuss it. especially when it comes into matters of discussion, just go further into detail in that, right? The items should be described in an informative way so stakeholders, public board members, as well as the public understand the nature of each item. I always say write as much, the motion, try to be descriptive as possible. Some of my boards, I always made sure that I followed up with them on the agenda, because sometimes the way they write their agendas does not give a full vision of what's being discussed. So I always like to make sure that everybody puts everything, provide as much context and detail in that agenda motion. And one thing is also making sure that the board, the goal is to make sure that each motion is well described so everybody can have a clear understanding what's going to be considered by the board. We want to make sure that boards are not putting on indescriptive motions so they can be dictated during the meeting. No, it should be able to be in detail, provide sufficient detail for stakeholders and members and board members to know what's being discussed, right? Again, we said it doesn't need to exceed 20 words, but if you need to detail it so it can be to have full explanations to stakeholders, the better. I'm a person who, my English teacher has a problem with me doing runoff words. I tend to run off. My writing can run off a little bit. Just provide as much detail and context as much as you can on your agenda. Also making sure you have the required language and the language that is highly recommended. So one thing that we like to say that, right, we provided some examples of agendas we think are not descriptive. Are you talking about and which laws are you talking about? A motion that's being taken by the city council? Just kind of making sure that an agenda item has as much description as possible, right? One thing we want to make sure what is a poorly written agenda item, right? It's subject to interpretation, especially when you're dealing with issues of homelessness. Let's be honest, it is always on everybody's mind. So when you're as generous as possible, you are opening a can of worms that sometimes I'm not sure anybody can fight that battle. So I always like to make sure your language is not open to interpretation, right? Make sure we want to make sure it's not, if it's not a clear understanding of the matter being discussed, because if the motion is, maybe you're talking about the city council motion that is being taken upon, the funding for project, all that good stuff. One thing also that always becomes a problem, right, is a funding motion that does not have an amount. I like to emphasize that motion, in my opinion, is always something that I will follow up with you and let you know this is a problem. This is an agenda item, because you're not giving stakeholders the ability to know what's being discussed in that motion. Also, one thing I like to emphasize with everybody is a funding motion cannot be increased. However, it can be decreased, right? If we were talking today, if a funding motion says up to, right, 3,000, you can't take a funding motion, be like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go up to 4,000. That is not possible, but if you do, you can go less, not more. One thing that we also say is just saying use of a non-explained acronym, right? If you're not detailing what's in the NPG, it's like, hey, we want to take action on an NPG, but give detail, give context, add detail to it. You're able to provide stakeholders, right? Also, I just kind of jumped on this one. It's missing dates, missing links on the name of board members, right? Especially if you're filling a position, let's say you're doing a vacancy, just detail that. It goes a long way. Going to the next thing, right? Want to touch base on what happens when an agenda item is not sufficiently detailed, right? There's always going to be some stakeholders most of the time, the stakeholders will reach out to the department, letting us know that the agenda was insufficiently done. So what happens is sometimes we will do a department follow-up at the office of the city attorney. Sometimes if that agenda is not listed properly, it can be problematic in terms of being a Brown Act violation. So you may end up having to, the NC having to re-agendize the motion to cure and just correct the violation, right? One thing is also I think this is a very good point, right? You are adding to the issue of mistrust within the city system. And whenever everybody is always critical of City Hall, I always like to remind everybody, you are part of the city process too. So anything, whenever you are saying that the city is incorrectly doing it and you're doing the same mistakes that you're accusing City Hall of not doing, you are part of the problem. So I like to also be the change you're trying to see, right? And so I like to, as much as when it comes to city motions, whenever they look inconvenient, whenever we have the critique of what's happening within City Hall, I always like to emphasize you will get the critique at most times. So just avoid those scenarios, right? So let's say in this scenario, I think today we definitely discussed it, right? And detailing as much as possible, right? So like when you take a look at this motion, we are talking about the discussion and possible motion to approve up to 1,500 to the to this nonprofit who is a community partner for the annual community event. Especially when it comes to events, just detail it. I think adding context in your motions, right? Because what you're doing is you're helping list what's going to be done in the board. I mean, what's going to be done at this event, how much money, who's going to be the person, how is the funding going into. So whenever you have additional supporting documents, you're able to actually, they detailed as much information as possible. Right. I think right now, when it comes to events, it's a little different, especially because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And so we work with the Office of the City Clerk to make sure that most NCs are not the ones who are taking the responsibility of creating events right now. So if you're one workaround we're having to do is working with a nonprofit organizer that is able to do the events for you. So we want to make sure that we can mitigate the risk, especially we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and I like to sort of sing that. When it comes to enable council agenda item for events, I think one thing, right, before we moving forward, even prior to the pandemic, right, we want to make sure that you listed the date, you had a location for the event, the sponsor, if a co-sponsor. I always recommended that everybody try to get this submitted, as the city clerk always try to do, is make sure that the paperwork is done 30 days before. Right, if you know an event is coming down the pipeline within 3 months, I'd like us to take action to discuss that 3 months in advance. Bring it to discussion, because what happens is the city clerk might have questions in regards to the licensing, especially when it comes to those details. If it's open to the public, you are able to answer those questions. One thing that I always run into a problem with all my neighborhood councils is us having to rush through to make sure that we are falling in line with pop-up policy, right? If the event is open to the public, is it publicly permitted? If it's going to be food being served there, we want to make sure we can help mitigate all those issues beforehand. And whenever you don't do it within the 30 days, the city clerk is mandating, we run into a problem. We are not able to address and provide the assistance necessary to get organizations with funding. So if you can do it the earlier the better. The earlier the better. Enable to purpose grant, right? We want to make sure that everybody's aware. MPGs are accessible to 501c3s, right? Anything else cannot be done through enabled purpose grant. As I showed through that motion, right, we wanted to have the name of the organization, the purpose of the grant, and the maximum amount. Up to is a big, I like to have folks do up to, because sometimes if you just say, right, like if you don't have up to, you run into a problem. Also having all these informations in terms of the start date, the requested funds, the completion date. Conflict of interest is the one I like to emphasize on, right? Please always make sure that when an organization is coming to this board requesting for funding, that we make sure that no board member has a potential conflict of interest. And when it's being discussed, please reach out to me before the board meeting, because I am not able to assist you when we're doing the meeting, and then we have to figure out who has a conflict of interest. When you see the agenda, I always advise all my neighborhood council board members to take a look at the agenda once it's posted. I know folks don't look at that agenda sometimes when it's posted and on the physical location or on the website. Please take a look at it, because like, what if that motion you thought was coming next month comes tonight to this board meeting, and we haven't talked about conflict of interest. So these are the updates that are required on an NC agenda, right? We're talking about the inconformity with the September, it detailed that one. And then you detail, due to concerns over COVID, the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council will be conducted entirely with a call-in option or end-of-day best service. Right now, all meetings and public board meetings are virtual. Public comment cannot be required to be submitted in advance. It is only in real time. This is something that I'm going to send a Word document. It's going to have the highlight updates on the language. And also just the usual is having the public comment on non-agenda items. That hasn't changed. The Americans with Disabilities Act, that hasn't changed on your agenda. Public access to records also. And also the new addition is the notice to paid representative, right? If you are compensated to monitor, attend, or speak during city council meeting, city law may require to register as a lobbyist and report your activity. So this is a new addition. And it's something that we want to make sure that folks are just as a notice, like, hey, we know when we're in meetings, and when it's someone is representing a developer or or a firm, we just want to make sure that they are aware of those changes. So some of this is some of the basics, right? Talking about the public input, right? The speaker card. Speaker card is something that we always make sure that was in agendas. And we also talked about the legislative process. I'm not going to delve into this one too much because I think this board does a good process of doing CISs. And I think one thing that when we were I still want to touch base on CISs. So when we were not short-staffed and understaffed, we used to be able to send weekly legislative reports. So now since we're not able to keep track of everything, it is usually up to the NC to be proactive in understanding on how to just keep track of issues. I always recommend signing up to receiving your city council agenda, your committees as well. All the public meetings are accessible, and they also made it accessible to video and audio. And by doing this is how you're able to keep track of motions that you want to submit CISs to. Right, CISs, as we've talked about it, right? They're official statements and positions adopted by the city council, pending issues pending before the city's decision makers. They can be issued about any issue that there's a city council file that must be resubmitted after or preferable action. So it's CISs are also very good because they can be directed to city commissions, even though a council file does not exist. One thing that within our website we've done is now you can also see your neighborhood council if we've taken action on board of neighborhood commissioners motions that they are bringing up to bonk, right? Bonk, we have been able to quantify this was definitely due to my colleague and director Julian. So we've been able to now to actually show when your neighborhood council is taking can file a CIS on matters of code of conduct, redistricting, Congress of Neighborhoods, the digital policy, right? And you can take action, and it's easily we're able to easily visualize it. And we want to make sure that our boards get comfortable and attuned with being able to just do CISs when it comes to bonk policies. I think that definitely goes a long way, especially when it comes to matters of discussion and just getting folks to be familiar in that one, right? When you want to express your support, your opposition, or even modifications to any other policy, as mentioned before by one of the board members, Jason, is in regards to, hey, we still have this social media policy. Can we take action to submit, do a CIS? You can do that CIS to a commission. And so you can do the CIS to bonk. And I think it would go a long way for being able to officiate whether you're in support or request for amendments for items of discussion. Yes, Jason.
I couldn't find where the second draft is. I see your PowerPoint here, but I'm just trying to find what the revisions, and I sent you an email about it, and I know you'll follow up, but if you could show us where because we had the initial policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
so
comments were made.
So you see commission? Do you see my screen? right? So you kind of hover around the mouse and then you do policy. And then now we have draft under consideration.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And then there's the two that are being discussed, right? So we have the draft policy communications, and then we have bonk. So these are the two that are on draft right now. And so this is what's on our website at the moment.
Got it. So it's that second one there?
So it's actually the first one. So it's this one. So it's when you go to commissions, you just
Yeah.
scroll your mouse over it. And
Okay.
then what you do is you scroll to policy under, and then there's under consideration.
Got it. Okay.
And
It's
then
so
also
hard
there's
for
also-
us, you know what I'm saying? It's like the way they make it. I mean, this whole like, honestly, Gibson, just a feedback, it's like, just
And that's-
send it to us, send it to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is really gonna go in there on this board, like all of us, right? Even if you're so diligent, how are we gonna find this stuff? So that's all. Just
So I
a
think one
comment.
thing is also our team is trying to kind of just make sure that we're trying to streamline some processes within our department. So we definitely, as you can
Just
tell,
send the email. Just send the email to us. Like we get all your emails. Just send it. Like, here's the second draft. Wanted to let you guys know. Second draft has been released. Thank
it
you.
was in our month. It's usually in our monthly profile. We
I
also
know,
make
but the
sure-
monthly profile, it's like you got 1,000 other things in there. This is important. Like, take it out of the monthly profile. Just send a separate email. It's okay. It's just another email. It's not going to cost anybody anything extra. That's just my comment to the department.
Okay. Not a problem. That's definitely taken into consideration. I definitely want to touch base, just to remind everybody, CISs are permanent they're permanent part of council files. I think just making sure that folks get comfortable with that. I think it's like you are able to submit a CIS, and I would want to make sure that the board is consistently active in that capacity, right? Making sure that we are touching base on that. I want to jump ahead because I want to be respectful. I'm going to finish soon, but I want to touch base upon standing committees. This is just me jumping forward. I want to touch base on standing committees and ad hoc committees. Ad hoc, right? Standing committees are, right, they're permanent committees that are designed to handle issues on a continuous basis. They are subject to the Brown Act and must conduct all business in open and transparent manner. And also they are subject to the notice and posting requirements of the Brown Act and the Board of NIB and the bonk posting policies. They're generally established in the bylaws and in the standing rules. Sometimes some of my boards have taken it on action where they have it posted on their standing rules, because the standing rule committees can be, when you have your standing committees posted in your standing rules, you don't fall into the restrictions of doing bylaw amendments. This gives you the ability to be nimble enough, especially when you want to work on committees within your bylaws, or just kind of within this board, and you want to either expand on your committees or reduce them. Having them detailed in the standing rules rather than the bylaws does go a long way. Your ad hoc committees, right? As I mentioned, they have a divine purpose and they have a time frame that they need to accomplish that. They are treated differently in the Brown Act. They're not subject to the notice and the posting requirements of bonk. On the fact that as long as it's comprised of board members, and then it's consistent of fewer board members than the number of affirmative votes of the board is required to take action. And I like to say that both are advisory to the board. Any action taken by your committees still has to come back to the board for discussion. Please do not jump that one, because I've walked into issues where board members are taking action and then it doesn't come to the board. It's happened a couple of times. We'd have to catch it and it becomes a big issue. So I like to remind folks not to do that, right? We also make sure, as we continue, you'll notice that we are detailing your planning and land use committee members. moving on our website. So one thing that's definitely going to become a practice, and I like to ask my boards, is to be consistent in making sure all your members are listed on your website, making sure all that information is up to date. So whenever there's a change in something we want to, if there's a change in the committees, please make sure that that all that information is up to date. So that's why I'm always working with with the presidents or the committee chairs to make all that information just up to date and just make sure everything is rolling on our end, right? And with that, I am cognizant that we should have had the city attorney today, but certain things outside of my control. But I want to make sure that I'm able to provide some updates as to trainings that we are providing through the Core Institute training. And if these parts are within the NC system that you want me to touch base upon, please let me know. I don't know if anybody had any other questions for me.
I do see a attendee with a question. I'm not sure if it's John or Michelle Hayes, but I'll let them talk. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
John, okay.
It would be quick. This is John, obviously.
Yes.
Gibson, I'd like to make just a quick comment for you. I don't think this board realizes how lucky they are to have you. I've attended over 133 Zoom meetings for neighborhood councils. You are by far the best representative of that group, and they should consider themselves very lucky. I have one recommendation for you. Be a little bit more forthright when you see something wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I thank you for that one.
Thank you. And last, but actually 2 more questions. Jason and then David. Jason, floor is yours.
I second John's comment. Thank you, Gibson. We really appreciate you helping us out here. So I'm just trying to delve through this whole bonk situation with the digital communications. So I went to the link and it's 10/14/21 and I don't see any changes. So is that the original document?
No, that's the second one. I definitely know that was the second one because there was a change in this. There was one in the September. So I do believe I think bonk is.
But they don't put the changes, so we have no way.
But you have to. We don't have it detailed in the capacity of it's redlined, but both versions are up on the link.
So I guess my comment is that's very disappointing because we all have access to Microsoft Word where we can, put a strike through or we can highlight changes just like we do in our minutes or whatnot. So when I read this document, how am I supposed to understand what has been changed? I know it's not you, Gibson, right? Like I'm asking you a question, but you're not the one who made these changes. But from us as a neighborhood council, how are we, like, maybe you can answer the question, what was changed in this document?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer to that, I think, but one thing about within the policy approach that's been taken from our department is just detailing both of the documents with the timelines. I think making sure that both documents are there. Maybe that's something I'll touch base with.
Like what section, can we get, what section was changed? You got 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I know there were some.
Can I ask, did you read the first one, the first draft within this from the September one?
Yeah, I read it, but like I know there was some contention on maybe some of the later sections, but I mean, realistically, honestly, how can I interpret this document when I can't see what the changes were? It's not reasonable, it's not reasonable for me to be able to interpret what the changes are. It's very simple for them to put a highlight, just like, Gabriel did in the minutes. He highlighted all the changes in yellow, right? You do a strike through or you do a highlight for any changes. And so I feel like they're trying to hide something, because I cannot see, and I'm asking you as our representative, what was changed in this document? Can you get back, or, I mean, can you tell me what section? Like I'm looking at section 8. What was changed in section 8?
I think that's why we're listing both documents, right? Making sure that folks, I mean, point taken, but I think that's why we're listing all.
No, I mean,
all
we need to
documents.
know. We need to know. This is very
But it's also
important.
discussed, the changes are being discussed in bulk as well. I think that's something that.
But these changes are done. These are the changes here.
They're
But
being
we can't
detailed in the
tell what-
Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, though. Are you attending the meetings?
No, but we don't need to attend the meetings to know what the changes are that they decided on.
But
Right.
the changes are discussed at bulk as well. I think that's also a good place to always make sure you're attending any policy that will be impacting how the NCs.
I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you. Changes should be transparent. If
But
there
they
was
are.
changes made, it should be transparent.
Maybe
It's not
maybe not in detail
transparent.
that you're asking, but they're all detailed in all Board of Neighborhood Commission meetings. And then all meetings are
But-
open to the public, and they're being detailed and discussed in
But were you?
pure detail at bulk.
Okay, but
If you attend bonk meetings, then we'll be able to touch base upon that, but they've always been visible.
so if I don't attend bonk meetings, then I cannot know what the changes were.
Are you gonna bring, I mean, but if you're not attending and knowing what's being discussed at bonk, then how would you know what's coming
But
down?
we're-
from the commissioners?
Well, but
Council.
I want you to help us, Gibson, that's all. Like, can you help us tell me what the changes were? I don't understand what the changes were, and I look at this document and I don't think you even know what the changes were. I asked you the question, what were the changes to the document?
I just read the whole
Say-
policy and then I make sure it's accessible to everybody.
Can I call a point of order? It seems like we're going in big circles. If you
Yeah.
guys can discuss this, offsite, that'll be perfect, because it seems like we're literally going in circles. back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, no, I'm very.
That'll be great.
disappointed.
And I know David Balin has a question. David, floor is yours.
Well, now it's not as funny as it was in the very beginning, but I agree with John and I was agreeing with Jason, but Jason went off on a tangent with Gibson. But, Gibson, I agree, we're very grateful, but I don't think everybody realized, I think you're the only NC left. I mean, a representative left over at Empowerment. So we appreciate you. So thank you.
I'm here, I am still here, and then if I make any changes, you will definitely know, but I'm still here.
Like I said, you're the last man standing. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Is your presentation done, Gibson?
Yes, I am done. I definitely want, yeah, I'm done. I was actually, the next thing was touching base upon the panelists to serve in the grievance panel. So if anybody has questions about that, let me know.
Sounds good. That is the next item anyways. Next item is discussion, possible action to appoint Jason Hector or any other board member who is nominated that would like to sit on and serve as a panelist on the grievance or regional grievance panel for Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I'll make it as a motion to appoint Jason Hector. And are
I
there any
second it.
nominations, or
I second it.
Voss seconds it? Thank you.
I have a second nomination. Since we
Yes,
might
sir.
have a backup.
Sure.
I don't know if he would consider it, but I think he's pretty logical and I think he would listen to all sides. Voss, would you be interested?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, then there you go. Next, Jason.
Any
I
other
appreciate this.
nominations? Because we could have a backup if needed from what Gibson said a little bit ago.
I nominate myself. I do a lot of work in the same field in terms of local government, have adjudicated local cases.
I will second David Lasher. I'm
you
on
were
so
any
quiet
committees
tonight.
either. I'm on
I
any
second
other
David
committees as
Lasher.
well, and I don't know how busy Jason is, but he's certainly more involved in other aspects of the neighborhood council. Wouldn't want to be overburdened. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Any other? I see a hand up from the attendees. Assad?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, as many of you know, the city of Los Angeles for decades have a well-established thorough grievance procedure per specific employee MOUs. and many managers and supervisors, such as myself, receive annual updated training to ensure abiding city rules, city charter, laws, and code of ethics. Now, we all noticed last year that Empower LA's manager, Raquel Beltran, acted under pressure in an effort to address many of the NC's unethical issues, discrimination acts, violations by several boards throughout the 99 neighborhood councils, and established a shallow, non-subjective draft of a gray area direction, recruited some NC board members as panelists, and who had, by their own admission, 10 to 15 minutes training at best, and ended with first 3 chaotic, non-subjective circus hearings in which panelists themselves were confused about the grievance rules and at best didn't know what they are doing in the absence of the city attorney in their admittance on the online published video. And they went issuing rush judgments, causing now legal liability to themselves, to their neighborhood council that elected them, to Empower LA, and to the whole city. Even Empower LA, Gibson, Raquel, and all of them personnel at this time lack the experience to handle the grievance, but at the same time, leading regional grievance panels to address major issues such as discrimination, harassment, violation of code of ethics, election fraud, participating in election collusion, and so forth. Hence, we have today the blind guiding and training the blind. You are all volunteers. So here it's unfair for you and illogical to have you abide rules adopted for paid civil employees like myself and like VAS used to be, and in coordination with the specific labor unions. You are volunteers. You are not paid employees to abide by these rules. My recommendation at this time is either you table this item or assign it to the bylaws committee to further investigate and have your own well-defined, well-established grievance procedure to resolve the issues at the NC level before escalating to the regional panel. My recommendation, not only to PRNC, to the all NCs, and to invite Ms. Beltran to further discuss this unfounded grievance procedure, which is designed for paid employees. For PRNC, after my departure, the only trained person you have today is David Lasher. And I'm glad he's being considered. He's trained, he's well evolved with the system. In conclusion, NCs and Empower LA is not ready for this time. So please table it, have a long session about it for next month, allocate like an hour or something. This is not something you jump in as a PRNC, because right now, the 3 first grievances, those panelists are liable, are gonna be subject possibly by someone for a lawsuit. And the same thing here, you're gonna be sitting on a panel without a training, 10, 15 minutes by someone who doesn't even understand the rules. You're getting into muddy waters. So table it, study it at the bylaws committee before you proceed. And thank you for what you do, guys. I'm here to support you if you need any help at any time.
Thank you, Assad. David Bailey.
I appreciate Assad's view on this. You know what? I'm gonna agree with Assad that we should table this because, and Gibson will attest to this as well. The whole process, the whole system, it's a mess. It's despicable. I was appalled by the whole thing. I'm still appalled by it. I've got a bad taste in my mouth the way everything was handled on both sides. And you know what? The city really needs to establish a system where they can, and this should really come from our NA, we should be able to, or even you, Gabriel, should be able to, if we have a situation where you should be able to, they should allow you to speak to both sides and come to an agreement to work things out before they get escalated. And they don't have that in place. So I'm going to tend to agree with Assad that this should be tabled at this time. Thank you,
David. Any other board member comments? no other comments. Should we table this or should we move on with the appointments?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Jason.
It seems to me like we're talking in the context of a grievance with our own board.
And I think this is grievance for other boards, right, Mr. Gibson?
Yeah, it's grievance within the whole process. So one thing.
No, I
that we-
understand that, but I'm talking about the comments from the stakeholders and from, I guess, David.
I'm talking about the entire process. And it needs to, I think it needs, unless Gibson can correct me, unless it's been redefined and maybe Voss can speak on the way the
I'm
city.
not talking about
handles
the
it, the way-
process, David.
No, I'm just saying that we should be able to, because it should be handled properly in a proper manner, and I don't think the city's there yet. Maybe they have. Gibson, have they changed the way things are being
So I just
done?
want to let everybody know that all neighborhood councils are being recommended. We are going to identify a panelist from each neighborhood council.
I
So this
get that, but
process
how has it changed?
It's changed, I think, in the capacity of, this is the first of many changes, having board members from each board. There's going to be additional trainings that we're going to have with the city attorney's office. There is definitely changes that they're being instituted within the grievance process. That's why we want to make sure that it's accessible to all neighborhood council board members who want to participate in the process, so we can just
So
make sure
you're
we're not-
saying,
David,
so you're
David.
saying, one second, Jace, thank you. So what you're saying, Gibson, is that the training is going to come from the city attorney?
It's going to be the city attorney.
Because the
and
city attorney
department.
was supposed to show up tonight and left you training us. So I'm just kind of making sure that if the city attorney is going to be training the 99 councils, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But I
Alex
don't
just sort of
want, but I don't want all of a sudden that we're expecting to learn from the city attorney, and then all of a sudden Gibson shows up, which you
I
do
think
a
there's
great job.
Also, the city attorney's office has multiple divisions that we work with. This is a collaborative effort with NCAD. The division that was supposed to come tonight was this dispute resolution that's being expanded out by the city attorney's office. So we are working with multiple divisions. I think I like to emphasize that.
Okay, thank you.
Right. I think that's what I want to touch base upon in regards to that.
Okay.
Thank you. And Asada has. his
Let me
hand up.
finish. Gabriel?
Yes, sir.
No, I was just trying to distinguish between, because I think the comments were directed towards, what happened with our neighborhood council, but this doesn't have to do with our council. And I do agree that training is lacking, right? Like, if there are rules in place, then those rules should be provided ahead of time to the people who serve, right, on the grievance council. But, those people are qualified, in my opinion, to serve. And it would be a conflict if we serve to review a grievance for our own neighborhood council, right? So I think a lot of the comments that, Assad made, for example, were pertaining to a grievance with this council. But if you're serving as a grievance person, you're not gonna be serving to review grievances for this council. You would be, you wouldn't have any skin in the game to say, maybe you're reviewing something in Encino. But I agree, with the comments, because, we do need to know the rules. Like, I guess that goes back to, Gibson. What are the rules, because I think the training is important, and
Also, I'd like to touch base upon the grievance process is something that we always want to make sure that folks understand what it is. It's against board action. It's not against individuals. It's against board action, right? It's against the whole board. If
the whole board, yes.
Exactly. The grievance process is not designed to target one board member. It's designed to, if the board it failed to follow its own bylaw standing rules, if it failed to follow a section of the City of Los Angeles Administrative
Right.
Code.
But can
Or
you
a
speak to
section
the
of-
training portion?
Say that again?
Because, well, I think the issue is, if this board decides to put somebody forth to accept this obligation, the training issue comes up, and it's a good point that is being made, because we do our best, right? But we can only follow the guidelines, the training, in our own experience, right? And so
I think I mean, I don't want to go back and forth with this. I think if the board wants to take action, we should take action. But what I'm just trying to say is, if everybody's observed the last 6 months, we've instituted core trainings, institutes that provide trainings in different capacities within the neighborhood council system. So we are continuing to support the neighborhood council process.
fair enough. So that's the extent of the training. The training has been completed.
Not saying completed, it's actually more like, this is just where we're starting. Next year, we'll have a new set of trainings, especially when it comes to
Okay.
communication.
I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
fine.
So
And
it's-
then what about the liability issue that was brought up? The personal liability issue.
Again, I think that's a different conversation. That's something that I'm not going to get into right now. But liability is a little different when it comes from the neighborhood council system, because and it's something that we've detailed, and I'll do a follow-up email on that one as well. But if the board wants to take action right now, we should take action.
So-
I think I don't want to go back and forth.
So there's no answer on the liability issue.
The liability is very different from within the neighborhood council system, and it goes different from this discussion. It's a little, it's
All
not.
right,
it's
no,
not
just
within
be
the same-
straight up with us. There's
It's
no
not within
answer,
the same
there's no
scope.
answer. I
All right.
respect
No. Liability is not within the same scope as we're talking about a grievance. I think one thing when it comes to being liable is a difference. If you are intentionally breaking the law as a board member, there's a limitation to which
Liability in the capacity of serving on the grievance panel. That's the question.
you don't have, there's no liability for you serving on the grievance panel. That doesn't go that way. That's why if you're on the department, on this grievance panel that's administered by the city, the liability doesn't go to you. The liability only comes into the conversation if you're a board member who's intentionally breaking the law in this board, and you've been guided by the city attorney and the department that you're breaking the law. Then you'll be then you're held liable in that situation, not in this capacity.
Okay, thank you.
All right, board, what I want to do is I want to make the amended motion. So if you guys don't want to move forward with it, vote no. If you want to move forward with it, vote yes. Before I make the amended motion, Jason and David, both of you are still on board for it?
Sure, absolutely.
Jason?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to amend the motion to read, I want to appoint Jason Hector as primary and David Lasher as backup panelists on the regional grievance panel for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Do I have a second?
I second.
I got 2 seconds. I think Voss and David second. I got 2 seconds. Do it that way.
We got two guys. We have two candidates.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So 2 seconds. Perfect. Let me call the vote. David Lasher.
Yes.
Thank you. David Balin.
Yes.
Thank you. Hilda.
Yes.
Jason.
Abstain.
Abstain. Lewis is absent. Becky.
Yes.
Thank you. Brandy. Is she absent? Jennifer.
Yes.
Thank you. Voss.
Yes.
Thank you. Christine. Cheers. Absent. Gabriel, yes, and motion passes.
Back.
We got 8 yes, 1 abstain, 3 absent.
Gabriel, Brandy's back. Sorry.
Yes, Brandy.
Just letting you know I'm back from the bathroom.
No problem. I'll read the motion again.
It's okay. Keep me as absent for the vote because
Okay,
I
you're
don't want to
absent.
vote on something in yellow.
Sounds good. And motion passes on that. Let's move on. Item number 16. Before I make the motion, are there any other changes that need to be submitted before I make the motion? I have some,
Unfortunately, yes.
there is. All right, then I'm gonna table that. again. So motion, I'm tabling the motion of the minutes, October 13 minutes. Last item is update from board members of committees. Raise your hand if you have any updates regarding anything. David Balin, floor is yours.
Thank you. First off, Gabriel, do we have a updated committee agenda?
Yes, we have one. I can send it to you.
Can we send it out to all the committees? Because
Will do.
I will have something coming down for sustainability, and now I will definitely put one out for the youth committee. So thank
You
you.
got it. I'll send it out tonight. Thank you. Brandy?
Okay, Jason can go first.
Okay, Jason?
Okay. I got 5 bullet points here. Number 1, my suggestion, add the COVID updates to our agenda
Okay.
until, we get through this and Lasher.
Who'll be giving the updates? David Lasher again, like before?
Yeah, Lasher was doing it
Perfect.
and, I don't, as long as the information is. And then the potholes, please, everybody put the potholes in 311. Thank you, David, for bringing the issue with the potholes. But let's just put it on 301. They're doing a good job. Number 3 is the pavilion. The Englander Pavilion is still approved. And that's our neighborhood. That's our domain. So, if we don't take action, then it's going to be Englander Pavilion. The park naming is still undecided. That's my 4th point. We submitted a CIS, but we have a new board now. So, these items should be put on the agenda, whether it be land use or actually it should be on the general meeting. And then my last item I wrote here is the Walmart proposed gas station. This should be agendized as well. And we should invite the developer.
Thank you. Can you email me all 6 points you just read, Jason?
It's basically the same thing. Walmart plus the new
Park
park.
naming.
Yep, that's it. Everything else is just to the community. Please put things on 311 and on the newsletter. Let's just let people know potholes should go on there. Thank you.
Thank you, David Balin.
Just a quick follow-up. So I did reach out to John Love in regards to the Walmart. I have not heard back from him because, John and John would know better than we would. So that's kind of a nothing's really going on just yet. So that's a good thing. Now, Gabriel, you're chairing land use, but it's up to you. So Jason and I have done a lot of work. CIS has gone to the meetings with Rex and Parks. So it's really, I'm going to put it back in your hands. So either you can, if you're willing to fight the fight, go ahead and fight the fight for it, or you can have Jason and I continue since we've already been doing the legwork, but I'm putting that on you to make that decision. So
thank you, David.
We know what's outstanding, and it's been in limbo for now. How long, Jason? 2 years?
I don't even know how long.
So but we can't, and I agree with Jason, we can't, as the Port Orange Neighborhood Council, let it slip through our fingers. I mean, I'm constantly looking to see if they're having the meeting, but they're not. They're at the time when Mitch was half on the board, half off the board, he was aggressively, trying to name it the park after his mom and name the pavilion after himself. And, things have changed, but we can't let it let it go unfought. We
I
need
agree.
to continue to fight for what's right. Maybe the board doesn't know. At one time, Jason and I, we voted on Porter Ranch Community Park, and we're kind of at the turning point with the pavilion, naming it after the Indians, the Tatavanian Indians. So that's up to you. Wherever you want to go with it, we can support you if you want to run with it with land use,
In the
or
park.
we work on it together. So it's up to you.
Thank you, David. And Brandy Grace?
Yeah, sorry, I let Jason go ahead because my internet suddenly bounced, so I didn't know if I'd lose you.
No worries.
Okay, a couple things. One, for anybody who's curious, I've been working on the CPUC condemnation letter, and I talked to Gabriel about us doing it as a special meeting. So there's more time for people to look over it and give feedback from the community. And also, and kind of related, if you experience any gas smells or symptoms of gas poisoning, please report it. Over the last week or so, multiple community members have complained on social media about experiencing symptoms and smelling the gas. And I've heard people talk about it and neighbors just discussing it outside. But when I called and reported it, they said I was literally the only one reporting. So we need to encourage our community to actively reach out and report it. And I get why it feels like they don't do anything, and often they don't. But if we're not reporting it, they can just say that there's no problem because they don't get any reports. So we do have to be very proactive. If you do smell gas, report it. If you do experience symptoms, report it. Tell your neighbors, tell our community. Let's do that.
Thank you, Brandy. And last, we got Becky.
I just have a comment to make. Something that just kind of drives me nuts. Just when you refer to recreation and parks, it's not recs and parks, it's rec singular and parks plural. And I see a lot of people on our board saying recs and park. It's like rec a park. That's not what it is. It's recreation. It's not a plural word, and parks. Just a little English lesson here. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. And I don't see any other hands up. Next meeting is on January 12th, unless if we have a special meeting prior to that. I want to wish everyone happy holidays, best wishes, and happy new year, just in case if we don't meet prior. And thank you all the advice, information, and we'll move forward with a wonderful new year. Thank you again.
Happy holidays.
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Merry
Meeting adjourned
Christmas and a
9:20.
very happy New Year.
Enjoy your.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so very much. See
Bye-bye.
you in the next year.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you,
New
Gabriel.
Year.
Bye-bye.
Bye.